2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome into the Hick At Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick At Nite. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A very happy Sunday to you. Thank you for winding down the weekend with us right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A pretty busy weekend, right? No football. I get it. Still a lot of basketball news we're going to break down tonight. Some college basketball as well as March Madness is really rapidly approaching. This time next week, it's going to be March. So I think the gloomiest month of the year, at least on the sports calendar, is quickly coming down to an end, right? So at least that's some positivity. So we're bringing some positivity to you here on a Sunday. Thank you so much for joining. And some of the news we got is where I want to start tonight's show. And it's news we learned yesterday from NFL Network, and that is that the Rams are allowing Matthew Stafford not necessarily to seek a trade, but as they're wording it, to reach out to other teams to see what his value is, and then come back and tell us whether it's a trade value and or salary, as well as Matthew Stafford is trying to get a pay increase at 37 years old. And right now the Rams are reluctant. They are allowing Matthew Stafford to, I guess, explore the market, we'll say, and come back to either match a deal or possibly trade him as well. I don't think there's any shot of that latter happening. Two reasons I want to give you here to start the show as to why Matthew Stafford is going to be a Los Angeles Ram in 2025. Reason number one, he is their best quarterback for the next few seasons. He's their best option that they have. Matthew Stafford could still play. And let's not also forget the Rams are a team on the rise. Right, this was a team that was one play away from beating the Eagles in snowy Philadelphia and advancing to the NFC title game. They are young, especially on defense. They are a team that's ascending. You know, their ceiling right now, and they are, or should say their window to Super Bowl contention, it's opening. It's not closing. So if the Rams are on their way up, if they're young in all the right positions, why on earth would they willingly then downgrade at the most important position in all of sports by trading away Matthew Stafford? Because if you trade away Stafford, you're not bringing in an upgrade next year. There's no one coming in that's realistic, that's better than Stafford that could be on the Rams here in 2025. Because if you trade him away to whoever, the pool of quarterbacks you're looking at is Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I mean, hell, you want to draft a quarterback in a quarterback class that you hear more and more about as being weak and weaker and not even really at the high line, the top line of it with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. You don't feel that great about either really one. So why would the Rams, again, a team on the rise, a team that won a playoff game, that nearly beat the defending champs in the Philadelphia Eagles, why would you trade away a quarterback in Stafford that's, I would still say, top 10 in the league for what? For nothing. He's still a guy that opponents fear in the postseason. He's still a guy that can get it done at the highest level. Hell, I want you to hear this from Darius Slay, now Super Bowl champion, on his podcast, Big Play Slay podcast, talking about the team that scared him the most and came the closest to knocking the Eagles out of the postseason. Take a listen.
You know what I'm saying? I think the closest team to us, honestly, in this postseason was the Rams. I think the Rams had the best chance of beating us in the whole postseason, in my opinion. They was complete. They could get after the quarterback, but they couldn't stop the run as much as good. But they had a great offense, and a great offense, like they was good at what they did. They was very good at what they did.
They had a great offense, and they were the closest team to knocking the Eagles off. Not the Chiefs. No, not Kansas City. Not the team they faced in the NFC title game in Washington with Jaden Daniels as one of the best and brightest stories in the league in 2024. It was the Rams and Matthew Stafford, the team that almost knocked Philly out of the playoffs and prevented them from winning their Super Bowl. Why, again, would you move off of Stafford willingly if you are LA? To do what? To draft a quarterback, to sign one of these guys I just listed before? It doesn't make sense. That's why they're not going to do it. This is not going to be a team that's going to downgrade at the most important position this offseason, as the rest of their team is young and ascending. Reason number 2 why I don't think the Rams are trading Matthew Stafford, because trading Matthew Stafford makes it easier for Sean McVay to say, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm retiring. No quarterback stability makes it easier for a top 2 head coach in the league to walk away. Remember, McVay, for how young he is, he's not a coaching lifer. You know, he's not like Bill Belichick or Andy Reid that's basically working in their own grave. This is a guy who has other aspirations, who go back just 2 years ago. After the 2022 season, 1 year removed from winning the Super Bowl, this guy and Sean McVay needed time in the offseason to think about his future, contemplate the future of the Rams, and decide for himself, do I want to be the coach here? Can I commit myself to this organization? Now, obviously, right, ultimately he decided, yes, I can, I'm coming back. But there was already a thought. He needed time, just 1 year removed from the Super Bowl, to think, do I really want to coach this team? That was with Matthew Stafford. That was with Cooper Kupp coming back. You know, that was with still some high-level players from that Super Bowl just a year ago on the roster in 2023. So if you trade away Matthew Stafford this offseason, and again, you have no stability at quarterback, you have a stopgap in 2025, you have no answer for the future whatsoever, you really think McVay's going to be committed there long-term? You really think McVay is going to be, you know, dig his heels in and say, I'm not leaving LA? I'm here for the long haul? This is a guy who already thought about stepping away. When you think about anything, right, it doesn't exactly go away. If anything, I'm sure as times get more difficult, those thoughts of, let me be with my family. Maybe let me go to TV. Maybe just let me take some time off just to hang out and let my hair down. Maybe wake up one day, not have his hair gelled. Maybe he wants to relax. Can't do it when you're the front-facing, you know, voice of a franchise speaking to the media every single day. Maybe Sean McVay just wants to chill. That urge, that little voice in his head that we saw already be there, I think only gets stronger and louder if you look at having quarterback instability for the Rams in 2025. You know, we've seen plenty of teams try to find the guy, shuffle through. As a Colts fan, I've seen it since Andrew Luck retired. It's very difficult to go from one great quarterback to another. You have one right now, Matthew Stafford. I get he's older, 37. So his shelf life, right, is a lot shorter here. Maybe he's got 2 good years left. I'd much rather have 2 good years left of Matthew Stafford and play it out than trade him now, even if you get a first-round pick, right? Like a popular trade destination for Stafford has been the Giants. Giants picking number 3. Let's just say if that trade is made, Stafford goes to New York, the Rams get pick number 3 back in return. Well, with everything you heard about this quarterback draft class, is McVay going to be jazzed and reinvigorated by coaching Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? I don't think so. There's no Caleb Williams right now or Jaden Daniels in this draft class that I think could get McVay thinking, this could be my guy for the next 10 years. There are a lot of questions, very few answers. So if you're going to invite quarterback instability at a time with McVay kind of looking around and saying, do I want to be here or not? I think trading away Matthew Stafford makes it easier for Sean McVay to retire, which is why I don't think the Rams are going to do it. They're not stupid enough to do it. Because trading Matthew Stafford, again, moves you off of, as a team on the rise, a top 10 quarterback in the league. You're not getting an upgrade no matter who you sign, what you do this offseason. There's no quarterback realistically available for the Rams to get or even trade for that will be an upgrade over Stafford. And I think opening that door, moving off Matthew, I think makes it easier for Sean McVay to say, you know what? I need a break. I need some family time. I'm retiring. And now all of a sudden, by trading Stafford, the Rams also lose out on a top 2 coach in the league. There's too many dominoes that fall in a negative direction for LA that the math doesn't math. It doesn't add up. 1 + 1 = 2 here when you look at keeping Matthew Stafford in the trajectory, but also if you look at trading Matthew Stafford, probably losing Sean McVay, equaling a rebuild in LA, despite the fact that they have a young team on the rise. The math does not math. There is no shot the Rams are trading Matthew Stafford. He'll be on the roster in 2025 in LA. No doubt about it. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. This is where we want to start tonight's show by having this discussion with you here. I made my case. I think there's no reason the Rams should or will trade Matthew Stafford. If you see it differently, if you can make a case as to why it makes sense for the Rams to move off of a 37-year-old quarterback who's looking for a pay raise, I want to hear from you. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. That is the number to call. You also could tweet me on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. And great news for those who enjoy watching the show, not just listening. We are back on YouTube. The stream is up and running. Check us out, Infinity Sports Network YouTube page, streaming the show live right there. You can watch us in living color and also comment in the comment section as well. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. That is the number to chime in on the discussion we are having to start tonight's Hick at Night show. Should the Rams trade Matthew Stafford? Does it make sense for LA to trade their 37-year-old quarterback and maybe get a first-round pick back, but kind of start over at quarterback compared to paying and extending an aging Matthew Stafford? We'll get your thoughts here on the show. Also, when we return, well, Stafford now, I guess we could technically put on the market, right? Again, his agent is allowed to talk with other teams. So for this next exercise I'm going to do when we come back from break here, Matthew Stafford is eligible. Who are the best quarterbacks on the market? Now as the combine gets set to start this week, usually we hear some juicy rumors, some reports, some thoughts, some talks as well. Rumor season starts this week in Indy, and there are plenty of teams right now out there that need a quarterback. So you're going to hear, I think, a lot of quarterbacks' names thrown out, a lot of connections here as well. So I figured to get out ahead of it here, let's rank and discuss the best quarterbacks on the market, both in terms of realistically trading for, also free agents as well. Who should your team sign? What should they expect if they sign one of these guys? I'll tell you next. It is Ryan Hickey. The show is Hick at Night, and we're coming to you live right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
Welcome back into the show. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Starting tonight's show by discussing the future of Matthew Stafford. NFL Network reported on Saturday that Stafford's agent has been allowed to not, I guess, technically seek a trade, but seek his value. Go around the NFL, talk to different teams that would be interested in trading for / acquiring Matthew Stafford, gauge what they would give up, gauge how much they would pay him, and then report back to LA. I think they're just going to match it and keep Stafford in LA, but I think absolutely what the Rams should not do is trade Matthew Stafford, because I don't see the benefit to LA. I get he's 37 and probably has 2 years left. So his window for high-level play is small, and the Rams' window for winning another Super Bowl is very short as well. I get it. But I'd much rather ride out these 2 years with Stafford playing high-level football compared to trading him now, getting back what? I mean, you probably get back a first-round pick, okay, but who's playing then for your team in 2025? You got a young ascending roster who nearly beat the Eagles in Philly this past postseason, was really one play away from beating the Eagles and going to the NFC title game. They're young on defense, getting better. Some key players on offense as well that are still young and factored to be there for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Why would you trade away Matthew Stafford only then to have a quarterback next year? Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, all guys below the talent level of Stafford. And then not to mention, I think the other thing that happens here, if you move off of Stafford, is you open up the possibility, because there is then quarterback uncertainty, you open the possibility of losing your head coach in Sean McVay, who has thought about and contemplated retirement before, a year removed from the Super Bowl. So this is not a guy that's a coaching lifer, let's say, and then is going to be the Rams head coach for the next 30 years, no doubt about it. This is a guy who may not be the Rams head coach for the next 5 years. That time only gets expedited if you open up some chaos at the quarterback position because you trade away Stafford and then try every year to fill and you can't. You know, it's not that easy. Just say, okay, we're going to move off of Stafford and bring in the next Super Bowl caliber quarterback to LA. Who are you trading for? No one's available. Patrick Mahomes is not getting traded. Joe Burrow's not getting traded. Lamar Jackson's not getting traded. So the guys that would be an upgrade over Stafford just aren't available. A lot of questions in the draft as well. It's a gigantic crapshoot. Not to mention the Rams most years are not going to be picking in the top 5 or top 10. So you have quarterback uncertainty here as well. I don't think it makes sense. To me, it adds up to the Rams not trading Matthew Stafford. I think it's a massive mistake if they do. If you think differently, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Before we get to your thoughts here, I want to give you some quarterback tiers because now technically Matthew Stafford is available. So we're going to see a lot of rumors here flying with the combine starting this week in Indy. And now we're really, as the calendar turns to March soon next week, we're going to start talking about free agents being able to talk with teams, sign with teams. We're going to have some bodies moving here. So what are you getting? I've split up the available quarterbacks that are available either via trade, like Stafford now reportedly is, and also in free agency. Guys like Rodgers, Darnold, Wilson, Fields, Kirk Cousins. What are you getting if your team signs them? Let's get into a little quarterback tiers. All right, let's start with the Super Bowl tier. Matthew Stafford's in the tier. That's it. He's the only quarterback that is available this offseason that takes your team from where they are to a Super Bowl contender. Again, we saw him playing the biggest moments here for the Rams after a slow start When you need to rely on Stafford, this guy comes through. He's a big-time player who shines when it matters most. In this past postseason, a blowout win over the Vikings, and again, a near victory in Philly, in which Philly was the best team for most of the year, and clearly won the Super Bowl. 4 touchdowns, no picks, 533 passing yards, and 107.5 passer rating. The guy can play, especially in the big moments. He's the only quarterback available right now this offseason that I think can help get your team to a Super Bowl. Let's go to the next tier, the playoff tier. You sign this quarterback, you could feel good about your chances of making the postseason in 2025. It's Sam Darnold. Now, there is a caveat here, and that's this. Sam Darnold has to be put in the right situation. He can't go to the Jets or the Giants, let's say, and all of a sudden, boom, they're a playoff contender because Sam Darnold's there. He does need help. He does need to be put in a good situation with some good coaching, good receivers around him. There are teams like the Steelers, for example, that are out there that need a quarterback that have a solid roster around him where he can come in and have success. But if he's in the right spot, Sam Darnold can absolutely take your team to the postseason. This is a guy with good accuracy, strong arm. He can make plays. He finished 2024 top 6 in passing yards, touchdowns, and passer rating. The guy can play. Can he lead you to a Super Bowl the way I thought, kind of the way he was trending towards last year and then ultimately flopping on his face in the regular season finale and in the playoffs? No. Can he get you to the postseason? Absolutely. He's the only quarterback, to me, in the playoff tier when it comes to quarterbacks available this offseason, breaking them down into a few tiers here. There's one quarterback here in the tier that I've created that's a worth a flyer tier. That's Kirk Cousins. I'm not guaranteeing success with Kirk. I think there's a chance, though, this is a guy, if you sign him, he can be a quarterback where you buy low and sell high in a year from now. Things ended poorly, right, in Atlanta, which is going to lead him to getting cut and becoming a free agent on the market here pretty soon. 9 interceptions in his last 5 games. Falcons went 1-4 after the 6-3 start and just completely cratered down the stretch. Big reason was how bad Kirk Cousins was playing. Now, he did reveal in the offseason, I think definitely part of it is he's saying it to boost his stock. I think also part of it is true. He mentioned that he had a shoulder injury he was dealing with, that he hurt in the Saints game, and then he kind of never felt right after that. That lead him to some of the picks he threw. I mean, the decision-making was poor at times, but I think maybe that had a small impact on his play. But let's not forget, before things went south, Kirk was solid. You know, he had 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions to the first 9 games. Atlanta was 6-3. They beat the Buccaneers twice, a team that finished by winning the division for the 4th straight year, I think it was, in the NFC South. Like, he started off well. So I think he's still got some game left. He's a year now removed from the torn Achilles. There's no guarantee this is a guy that could come in and play well for 17 games. He's the guy that I would willingly take a flyer on. If I was the Steelers, and let's say Matthew Stafford's not traded and Sam Darnold is too pricey or gone, I would feel good about taking a gamble on Kirk. If I was the Raiders, needing a stopgap for a year or two and trying to be competitive quickly, I would feel good about taking the gamble. That would be Kirk Cousins. Let's go to the placeholder tier. There are 3 quarterbacks here where they're there, plug in for a year or two, but they're not doing anything for you. They're just keeping the seat warm for the next guy to maybe be your franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Daniel Jones. None of these guys are viable starters. Like, Rush just does not have it anymore. He's solid enough to where he can give you competent quarterback play that you can maybe enjoy watching a few games from your team in 2025. But he's nothing more than a stopgap guy that can just tread water for a year. Same with Daniel Jones. This is a guy that's just going to keep the seat warm, be a professional, go about his business the right way, not cause a distraction. But he's just a placeholder. And then Justin Fields, honestly, like, you want to give him a shot, go for it. That's a guy, a flyer, I'm not willing to take. Because I think we've seen enough of Justin Fields where this is a guy that can't read a defense, his accuracy is not very good, and his decision-making is poor. We've seen enough from Fields where I just think, again, you want to play him in 2025? Okay, fine, he's nothing more than a placeholder. He's sitting there, keeping the seat warm to where you can buy time in 2026 to draft a guy, maybe trade for a guy. Maybe the free agent crop is better in 2026 than it's in 2025. These are just guys, and Russ, Fields, and Jones. I don't think you're getting anything more than just placeholders. Can win you 5, 6, 7 games. Don't expect much more than that. And there's one guy left in here. One quarterback remaining that's a free agent / a viable trade candidate that we have not gotten to. That brings us to the unsignable tier. It's Aaron Rodgers. This is a guy who's 41 years old, who's a headache in the locker room, whose play has fallen off, who wants full control of the organization. Who wants that? Who is willingly signing up after what you saw from the Jets the last 2 years? Who is willingly signing up to bring Aaron Rodgers into the locker room and have him be your quarterback? I don't see a team out of all 32 where it makes sense for them to sign Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how cheap it is. Does not matter. He's a walking distraction, all about me, not good anymore. I'm out on Rodgers. He, to me, is completely unsignable. So some quarterback tiers here of available quarterbacks in 2025. Here's where you're getting. Super Bowl tier, it's Matthew Stafford. Playoff tier, it's Sam Darnold. Worth a flyer tier, Kirk Cousins. Placeholder tier, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. And the unsignable tier is Aaron Rodgers. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We're taking your calls here as we started this show, speaking of Stafford, about his future. Rams are allowing him to explore his options. Does it make sense for LA to trade away a 37-year-old quarterback and try to get younger and better? Or are you with me here that it makes no sense at all to trade Stafford, keep him for a year or two, and try to maximize and win a second Super Bowl with Stafford in LA? 855-212-4227. Let's go to Yo, who's calling from Atlanta. What's up, Yo?
What's happening, Mr. Hickey? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, buddy. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to bring up some old stuff, but I'm going to start with what you're talking about right now. Did Sean McVay have Jared Goff and take him to a Super Bowl and say Jared Goff wasn't good enough when Jared Goff was like 23?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did Sean McVay sit there and say that we will make available Cooper Kupp because we have Puka Nacua, who is his equal and younger?
He did, yes. Yes, he's currently on the trade block, Cooper Kupp. No real biters so far.
No real biters yet. Exactly. So what I'm thinking in my head is like, look, Sean McVay is 39 years old, and Matthew Stafford is 37 years old.
Right.
So there could just be a butting of heads where it's not some general manager who is saying, hey, let's get rid of this guy, blah, blah, blah. It could just be that he's saying, hey, I can take any quarterback to the Super Bowl if they'll listen to me. He is in the same division that has Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant and only cost the 49ers $1 million a year for the last 4 years, and they also went to the Super Bowl. By getting rid of Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they will save themselves over $50 million, which will allow them to go out and sign the rest of the offense that they really want, and they can win with anybody.
But, let me go back to your first point about Jared Goff. You took him to a Super Bowl, right? Why, though, did Sean McVay trade away Goff?
Sean McVay said specifically that Goff could not do the things that he needed to do in his offense.
Right. So you have a guy, Matthew Stafford, that can do that, where you've won a Super Bowl with him. Why would you then trade him away to then go into the unknown and bring in a guy, whoever, Rodgers, Darnold, drafting a guy? It's a complete unknown for McVay and the next quarterback when he's already kind of seen, okay, this is kind of difficult if I don't have the right guy. Why open yourself up to that when you have a guy right now you've had a lot of success with? They made the playoffs 3 times. They won a Super Bowl. Why would you willingly move off of that when there is no clear upgrade available, and we'll say anytime soon?
I would say this, because sometimes the parts are greater than the person. And if you can save that type of money by trading him away and getting, let's say, a first, maybe even a second-round pick for him, right? Then you're able to put a quarterback in place, and then you could absolutely stack the offense. The thing is about Brock Purdy, I do not believe that the 49ers should be paying Brock Purdy $50 million a year, because I believe personally that he is a product of the system that Kyle Shanahan had in there. It's not like everybody sat there in the draft and said, hey, this guy is so good, he should be the absolutely last pick in the draft. That's not how it worked. He walked into a system that allowed them to pay him $1 million a year, and then they were able to go out and do free agency or whatever, grab every other awesome player that they could put around him, and they won. When those players got hurt this year, well, the 49ers are drafting in the top 10.
Right. Here's the point I think you're missing. You don't appreciate the call, at least when it comes to the Rams and the 49ers discrepancy here. Kyle Shanahan, I think, likes the ability to have to be able to spend his money in offense and spread the money around. Offensive line, receiver, running back, tight end, etc. I think Kyle wants and appreciates that versatility versus, a traditional loading most of the offense up at the quarterback position in terms of salary-wise. I don't think Sean McVay is someone who, as a coach, who enjoys spreading the money out and like having it thinner at quarterback and having a question mark there. I think he'd much rather have the guy at quarterback figured out and then plug and play guys like Cooper Kupp out of the draft, Puka Nacua out of the draft, Kyron Williams coming out of Notre Dame, plugging him in. Like, the Rams have drafted really well, offensively and defensively, the last few years. I think McVay's a coach by, kind of hearing him how he speaks, kind of even just seeing how his offense runs. I think he's a guy who'd much rather pay a quarterback a big-time salary and figure it out around the rest of the quarterback versus, you know what, I want to actually chop down the quarterback salary, be able to find a way to pay my guy only $25 million and spread the rest of the money out to the rest of the offense. I think McVay is a guy who'd rather have his quarterback figured out than having everything else figured out, I should say. So that's why I think McVay, like when you talk about trading away Stafford, I think McVay would look at that more as a detriment than like, oh, hell yeah, now we got some versatility and we got more money freed up and now we can go get a second receiver and a tight end and a left guard. I think McVay's a guy that I think trusts his quarterback. We saw that with Jared Goff when you don't trust a quarterback. And that's why I think it would be easier for him to walk away, let's say, if you're looking in a year or two and the Rams don't have the quarterback position figured out. And as most teams can attest, it ain't easy to figure out. It is very difficult to find a quarterback. Sometimes you luck your way into it, let's say the way the Commanders did at 2 with Jaden Daniels. But other times, if the Rams are always going to be making the playoffs or near the playoff push, and they're drafting in the late teens, early 20s, mid-20s every single year, it's only that much more difficult to find the guy to replace Matthew Stafford. That's why I don't think they should. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We will continue to take your calls. Does it make sense? Is there a way you can justify the Rams trading away Matthew Stafford this offseason? If so, 855-212-4227. That is the number to call. Also, you can tweet me on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey, and the number 3. And also check us out on YouTube. We are streaming the show live on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. We will get your thoughts. And also, when we return, the biggest pretender in the NBA revealed themselves today. Tell you who it is and why after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Our riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at progressive.com. The NBA, one game in progress. They're in the second quarter. Oklahoma City leading Minnesota 52-35. Now to the finals, and we'll start in San Francisco.
Curry waiting. Gets a screen, gets another screen from Looney. Gets Washington, dribbles on him, step back, three off the dribble! Another triple for number 30.
Tim Roy on Warriors Radio. Warriors over the Mavs, 126-102. Stephen Curry with 30 points. Elsewhere, Cavs over the Grizzlies, 129-123. Donovan Mitchell with 33 points. Pelicans 114, Spurs 96. The Magic over the Wizards, 110-90. Raptors 127, Suns 109. Bucks top the Heat 120-113. Pistons 148, Hawks 143. Cade Cunningham at 38 points. Pacers over the Clippers 129-111. The Celtics beat the Knicks 118-105. College basketball, St. John's over UConn 89-75. Indiana beat Purdue 73-58. Memphis over FAU 84-65. Women's college basketball, number 1 Notre Dame lost to Indiana 104-95 in double overtime. Now the hockey is Ovi surges towards the great one.
2:40 to go in the third period. And a puck that comes to Ovechkin. He scores! He did it! He did it! It's a hat trick for Ovechkin!
John Walton, Capitals Radio, caps over the Oilers 7-3. Alex Ovechkin with a hat trick now has 882 career goals, 13 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL record of 894. NASCAR, Christopher Bell wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Peter Schwartz.
You make the call. 855-212-4227. When you want to talk to us, call 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
We'll get back to your thoughts in Matthew Stafford here in 1 second, but this pains me to say it, but I really try to bring the truth here on the show. Don't have my fandom cloud my judgment or provide bias when I'm talking to you. Everything I truly say, whether you think it's crazy or not, I believe. And so it pains me to say it, but I got to do it. The New York Knicks revealed themselves today as the biggest pretender in the NBA this season. They faced the Celtics earlier in Boston, and I thought this was their last chance going into this game to prove that they could be called championship contenders. You know, they have the record, they're a top 3 team in the East, right? They have 2 All-Star game starters in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Like, they have a lot of talent. They have a good record. This was their chance, though, to prove they are true title contenders this season, because the one thing they have consistently failed to do is beat good teams. And I can't sit here and tell you, we're talking about the NBA and who can win a title this year. I can't sit here and sell a team that can't beat good teams. That would be fraudulent of me, because that's a fraudulent team. And that's what the New York Knicks showed today, and that's what they've shown all season long. They are a good team that cannot come close to beating the great teams in the league. Sunday in Boston, spotlight game, national TV. I thought it was a great chance for the Knicks to reverse that thought. To send a statement to the rest of the league, hey, we're here to play. Here we go, stretch run, we're here, baby. You got to go through us. This is going to be a tough, tough series. And instead, they came out in the biggest game of their season and laid a complete egg. They were down by 19 in the first quarter. 19. They weren't even competitive. And outside of a third quarter run to get the lead, which for the most part was in double digits and in the 20s for the Celtics, they got it down to 7 at one point, late third quarter, early fourth quarter. Other than that run, it was a game dominated by the Celtics, in which the Knicks were outclassed for 3 quarters. And again, this now is a team that is truly stuck in tier 2 of the league and is nowhere close to tier 1 where they're real contenders. the real championship level teams are. Because you look at the Knicks here, again, they're 37-20. It's a solid record. But look at how they've done so far against the top 3 teams in the league in the Boston Celtics, Oklahoma City Thunder, Cleveland Cavaliers. They are now 0-3 against Boston, 0-2 against OKC, 0-2 against Cleveland. Add that up, the Knicks this year are a whopping 0-7 against the top 3 teams in the NBA. And it's not the fact that they're just losing these games. That's bad enough. But a bigger problem a bigger concern is they're not even competitive in these games. They're getting blown out. They have lost to the Celtics 3 times this year, like we just said, by 23 points today. 23 points in the season opener, 27 points a few weeks ago at home, and 13 points today, and again, in a game that really was not that close. They've lost to the Cavs early this season by 6, then played them the other night, lost by 37. They played OKC twice in the middle of the year, lost by 10 on the road, 25 at home. And they are nowhere close to the best teams in the league. And the problem, the concern here for the Knicks is that they have so many issues. It's not one thing. It's the defense. Their stars are not consistently showing up. It's absolutely coaching. It's rebounding. It's all the above. This is a team that is nowhere close to true championship contention. I bought it in the offseason. I was not a big Cat fan, but I like the Mikal Bridges addition coming off of last year and the progress they made. I was buying the Knicks as maybe their toughness could outshine the Celtics in a 7-game series. And now, forget that. If they win 1 game against the Celtics in the postseason, if they win 2 games against the Cavaliers, if they face them in the postseason, that's a win. This team's nowhere close to taking either of those 2 teams down in the East. They are a far, far cry from championship contender. Tom Thibodeau, Knicks head coach, after the game today, talked about the gap and why the Knicks continue to come up short against the league's best teams.
They're good. You can't, like I said, you can miss shots. They're going to be missed shots. They're very good defensively as well, but you can't allow that to impact getting back. To me, we didn't, protect the basket. We didn't build our shell, and then we didn't cover the line, and we got beat on the boards. You're not going to win that game.
Bad shooting, bad effort, bad defense, add it all up, equals blowouts to the best teams in the league like we have seen now consistently for the Knicks this season. It sucks, but they're the biggest pretender. They're the biggest pretender in the NBA as now we head down the stretch run and kind of set our sights on playoff basketball approaching very shortly here. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. That is the number to call here. I have been called Hot Take Hickey by many a host and many a caller here on the Infinity Sports Network. But Jeff in Cleveland apparently has his own hot take about Matthew Stafford. Let's hear it, Jeff.
Okay, you might not want to hear it. You might not even like it. But Matthew Stafford, when you talk about Matthew Stafford, you got to realize you have to have someone to catch those passes. Okay, you have to have someone to go across the middle and get hit. When Matthew Stafford was in Detroit, he wore down Megatron. He sent Megatron packing. Megatron retired early because Matthew Stafford refused to run the ball. He told
Matthew Stafford refused to run the ball. Right.
He told the coach, "I'll go in if you want me to throw the ball."
Oh yeah, when did he say that, Jeff?
What? He said that when he was in Detroit.
Really?
When he was
you
in
had
Detroit,
that on the record?
That's what got him out of Detroit. He told the coach, "I'll go in if you want me to throw the ball."
God, okay.
He would not go in and run the ball. Okay? He ran Megatron into the dirt.
Oh,
Megatron retired a young man because...
Is that the hot take, Jeff?
Matthew Stafford. Pardon me?
Is that the hot take, that he ran Megatron into the ground, that he ended his career? Or we haven't gotten there yet?
And no, not only that, he's going to do the same thing for Cooper. Megatron will run your receivers into the ground. Not Megatron. Stafford will run your receivers into the ground.
So that's the hot take. Stafford is the wide receiver ruiner. Is that what we're saying?
That's right, absolutely. Okay, you can say that. You can give him that title. That's your take.
You don't,
That's fine.
Jeff. You
But-
are saying it. You literally just said it twice.
Yeah, I've got proof of it.
Is
I've got
that your
proof
hot
he
take
ran
that Matthew
Megatron
Stafford
into the dirt.
ruins wide receivers that he plays with?
Matthew Stafford refused to run
Jeff,
the ball.
I'm asking you a question. Is the hot take you are presenting on the show that Matthew Stafford ruins the career of every receiver he plays with?
Not every receiver, but he does ruin receivers because his passes is not that accurate all the time. Somebody's got to take hits, and that's the right receiver. And he throws the ball a lot. He refused to run the ball, and the wide receiver is the one who takes the punishment. He ran Megatron into the ground. He told the coach, I'm not going to – I'll go in if you want me to throw the ball.
All right.
But I'm not going to run the ball.
Jeff, I appreciate the call. Thank you for making it, man. I just think you're wrong. I think you're flat out wrong. Matthew Stafford is a guy that it's a very good quarterback, where if you look at why Megatron retired, he cited lack of team success. Matthew Stafford played well. It's not his fault the Lions sucked for his entire career. It's not Megatron's fault that the Lions have sucked his entire career. He didn't retire because Matthew Stafford somehow threw him into the ground. Jeff, you missed me on that one. You missed me on that one. Cooper Kupp had injury concerns even before Matthew Stafford got there as well. I'm not sure what throws we can look at to where you can say, oh, yeah, Stafford screwed his receiver. I don't think that's the case at all. 855-212-4227. We'll continue to take your thoughts here on the future of Matthew Stafford. Should the Rams keep him? Does it make more sense for them to trade him? Also, when we return, we'll give you the latest on Joel Embiid. Can he still be a top player on the Sixers? We'll discuss next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome in to the Hick at Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Nite. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your Sunday. Great news if you miss any part of the show. Check us out on the podcast feed, Hick at Nite, Nite spelled Nite. Available wherever you do get your podcasts. We're also streaming the show again live on YouTube. Check us out, the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. If you haven't already, go there, check it out, subscribe as well, and you can watch this show every single Sunday night from 10 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for joining us right here. All right, we're going to get back to your thoughts here in a second. Yeah, a lot of football, a lot of basketball to discuss. Still a lot more to break down here as well, including we learned an injury update earlier tonight on ESPN from their preeminent insider, NBA insider, Shams Charania, who did give an update on Joel Embiid, that him, the player, and doctors right now are considering alternative options for the knee injury that's been plaguing Joel this entire season. He complained more about knee swelling after last night's loss to the Nets. Yet again, they've tried injections. They tried a bunch of different things in the offseason, during the season. Nothing has worked. The alternative here looks to be surgery. Joel is considering it. It seems pretty likely that's going to happen. And it's obvious, right? It's like that's the obvious and easy answer. Get surgery, shut it down, and wave the white flag on 2025. Because the season's over for the Sixers. They stink. Embiid's played in just 19 games. The Sixers themselves are 20-36. They're out of the play-in right now looking in. They have the 6th worst record in the NBA. So for a guy that's always been hurt throughout his entire career, who's 30 years old, who's barely played this season, who came into the year hurt, and that knee has only gotten worse, it's common sense. It's obvious. It's really not even a discussion. Get this guy the surgery he needs. Start the rehab process now and start already looking ahead to next season. That's the obvious answer there, but that's not what I want to discuss with you because, again, that's really not a discussion. It doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, logically, for the Sixers to try to keep Embiid out there and still try to chase hope of making a play-in just to get eliminated in round number 1 by either the Cavs or the Celtics. But now the question I want to ask you and kind of focus this discussion on is this. Have we seen the last of Joel Embiid as the centerpiece of the Sixers? And I think the answer is yes. Like I no longer think this guy can be the face of the Sixers. This has to be, moving forward, Tyrese Maxey's team. And it has to go in that direction simply because Embiid is not healthy enough to have the team built around him. Again, I just told you, the guy played in 19 games so far this season. He played in just 39 last year. What's the point of building the team around a centerpiece center that's never available and playing? That's malpractice to build a team around Embiid when he's never healthy enough to make the full roster, like work how it's supposed to work. At least with Maxey there, if you build a team moving forward and make this Maxey's team next year and beyond, at least you can count on the fact that, okay, this guy's going to be out there and healthy. If you get Embiid back, great, it's a bonus. But at least we're not building anymore around a guy who's never available for us. If you're the Sixers, you have to start making that transition. Because for Embiid at 30 years old, who's going to be 31 here next month, he's not getting healthier as he gets older. This is not a guy that's, he gets his surgery and all of a sudden, he's back next year and all of a sudden now the Sixers are back in title contention. He gets his surgery next year. That may allow him to start next season healthy. That's the only guarantee. And that's not even a guarantee at all. That's the only hope you have for the most part if you're the Sixers. That this guy opening night can be out there and healthy, ready to go. But as we've seen with Embiid, he can start the year healthy. He literally never ends the season healthy. Every single postseason this guy has been in except for the bubble. And obviously part of that was the long break between when the season stopped and the bubble restarting allowed Embiid to get healthy. And also he was not in the postseason very long whatsoever. It was a quick 4-game sweep. So unfortunate as it is, it's true, he didn't have enough time to get hurt. But every other postseason outside of the bubble, Embiid has been dealing with something that's had something slowing him down, hurting his game. He's missed playoff games here as well. Like his injury status, it feels like, unfortunately, it's when, not if. So even though surgery is the obvious option here, get the swelling figured out, try to get his knee back to as close to 100% as possible for next season, there is very little reason to believe that even if he starts next year healthy, that he's going to finish next year healthy when it matters the most in the postseason. And so that's why if you're the Sixers, this has to be an Maxey's team. He's playing well in the absence of Embiid. He's young. This is a guy where you have to start to turn over the reins. Even though he's only 31, Embiid is next year, he's getting older. He's not going to be any healthier. And honestly, when you look back when you look forward here, this report by Shams, seeing how this season has gone so far and seeing how Embiid's career has gone, it only makes a decision by Daryl Morey to give Embiid that 3-year, $193 million extension back in September all that more egregious. What were you thinking? Why would you give a guy who at that point was not healthy, not practicing consistently, a 3-year extension to keep him in Philly through 2029 when he has never proven the ability to stay healthy? Why would you make it more difficult for yourself to move off of Embiid's contract and start over, or at least try to get any sort of value for Embiid? Why would you make it more difficult on yourself by giving him that extension? It was bad at the moment. It was criticized by me here. It was criticized by JR during the week as well. Many other hosts on the Infinity Sports Network. There's not many that could justify the timing of the Embiid extension. And now it only looks, not even 6 months later, it already looks so much more egregious because of this news by Shams. That most likely Shams not reporting this, but common sense would say it, with where the Sixers are, the fact that they've seemingly tried everything to try to get Embiid's knee to feel better and progress, nothing has worked. It seems like surgery is the only option. It seems like the sooner the better for Embiid. And the Sixers waved the white flag here in 2025. But even looking ahead, for the Sixers to be true contenders and be a threat again in the East, you have to move off of Embiid as your centerpiece of the Sixers. You have to start building this team in the eye of Tyrese Maxey. And just basically assume at this point any contribution you get from Joel Embiid is a bonus. It's sad, but we've already seen the best of Embiid's career. And there's no reason, no way you can justify anymore having him be the centerpiece, the face of the franchise anymore. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I don't think Embiid could be the face of the Sixers anymore going forward. I, though, still think an older guy than Embiid he has a history of getting banged up, but toughing through it. That's Matthew Stafford. I don't think there's any reason right now, as there are reports of Matthew Stafford being able to seek a trade, get value for himself, see what, other teams are willing to pay, willing to trade for. It seems right now the Rams are trying to monitor the market to figure out their next move about Matthew Stafford. Because Stafford wants a pay raise, and at 37, the Rams aren't exactly jumping up with joy to give it to him. I absolutely would pay Matthew Stafford from the Rams because your alternative is what and who. You're not bringing in a better quarterback right now that's realistic than Matthew Stafford, so you're downgrading at the position at a time in which your team is ascending. Just were in the second round of the playoffs, almost knocked off the Eagles in Philadelphia in the snow. Young defense, young key contributors on offense here as well. This team's going nowhere. Why would you willingly downgrade at the most important position in sports just to bring in a question mark of Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, drafting a quarterback? Why would you bring in that question mark at such a pivotal time when the Rams can try to strike here and maybe get back to a Super Bowl with Stafford? I'd much rather ride out a 2-year stretch with Matthew Stafford than trade him now and start over at the quarterback position. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. What do you think the Rams should do with Stafford? Keep him or trade him? Also, could tweet me your thoughts at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3 on Twitter, and our YouTube and channel as well, which can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. Eric is calling from Illinois. What's up, Eric? Hello, Eric. Sleep at the wheel. Hopefully this is what?
Hello.
Oh, wow. Eric making a comeback. What's up, Eric?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I was just going to make the point of your silence. I was hopeful that when the Rams got trade calls from Matthew Stafford, that's what the Rams side of the phone would sound like. As teams are trying to make a trade for him and bring some offers, silence. Nothing, because they're not considering it. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? So what I think is, how did he end up over there? Because McVay wanted a new piece. And if he gets rid of his old piece to get a new piece that'll keep him inspired, like you said, he wants to retire. You think that dude... Yeah, he looks for opportunity. That's why, I don't know. I see him... What if he gets two and a top draft pick?
Oh.
And
You think Sean McVay be more enthused coaching Tua than Matthew Stafford?
I don't know. Big risk.
Huge risk.
I don't.
Like you mentioned the trade, at least when he moved off of Jared Goff, right? You said he wanted a new piece. Well, at least when you traded Goff, you got Stafford back, right? Like boom, boom, 1-for-1. Okay, we got in McVay's mind an upgrade at quarterback. If you trade Matthew Stafford, you're not trading him to any team where you're getting an upgrade.
With picks, you might be. It gives you could get a top pick in a quality quarterback. So if you believe in your offense, do you really believe that it has to all go through it does have to go all through the quarterback,
right?
But I mean,
isn't that why you got rid of Goff in the first place, Eric?
Yeah, but maybe there's another guy like.
Do you have anyone else better to offer outside of Tua?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe what is Purdy doing?
Oh boy!
What if he gets traded?
You think they're going to trade in division Brock Purdy for Matthew Stafford?
No, Minnesota. What about Darnold? Send him to Minnesota.
Would you rather have Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold as your quarterback, Eric?
I'm not running the show because it'd be a completely different story. But I mean, this is McVay we're talking about. He might want to tip the table a little bit harder. Like he's got a young team. Why not just clear everything, get good on the lines, and keep who he has, and just I don't know.
I appreciate the call, Eric. This is in terms of Sam Darnold, I think you're doing the reverse of the Matthew Stafford trade from a few years ago. I think McVay told you in that trade, even though he got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, that he knew he could do better and wanted to do better. This is a guy that I think prioritizes having a top quarterback and is like, I'll figure out the rest. I'll figure out receiver, I'll figure out offensive line. Again, less need. Their GM has done a great job of drafting and finding guys. Again, who was talking about Puka Nacua as blossoming into the type of receiver that he is now when he was first drafted by the Rams out of BYU? Nobody. A lot of those guys on defense were great draft picks and development by the Rams and less to need. So McVay has a GM that does a great job at identifying talent that may be overlooked, but I think McVay, by his actions, have showed you he prioritizes high-level quarterback play. You have that right now with Stafford. I don't know how you're getting that elsewhere if you trade him away. You mentioned Sam Darnold. The guy won 14 games. I was sitting here on the show 2 months ago at this point, 3 months ago, talking about how I believe in Sam Darnold. This is a guy that I think can get the Vikings to a Super Bowl. And then we saw, just really like Jared Goff, in the biggest game of his career in the Super Bowl when he's with the Rams against the Patriots, absolutely crap the bed in the two biggest games of the season for the Vikings. On the road in Detroit with the number 1 seed on the line and the division title on the line. And then the next week in the postseason against Sean McVay and the Rams, we saw Sam Darnold absolutely the bed. You're telling me McVay wouldn't have didn't get flashbacks of a great quarterback playing really well throughout the year, that all of a sudden, big games here, and oh my God, the offense just collapses. It just goes to hell. I don't think McVay's signing up for that, even though Darnold is the younger option and there is some upside there. Again, we gave you quarterback tiers about an hour or so ago. I think Sam Darnold is a playoff caliber quarterback. I think McVay still wants a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. He has that in Stafford. He's not getting that. Again, in a realistic trade anywhere else right now in the NFL. Rob's calling us from his car. What's up, Rob?
Hey, how you doing, Ryan? So let's say that you go along with what you said about how Stafford has 2 years left in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the Rams should draft a Quinn Ewers in the draft this year, or a quarterback in the first thing around to develop and take over after Stafford retires?
That idea I don't hate, Rob, at all. Yeah, Quinn Ewers is interesting because I think I'm not a big Quinn Ewers guy. He has a lot of talent, but in some of the biggest games, he does struggle, especially with consistency. That's a guy where I think he would not go in the first 2 rounds. I think he could be a late day 2, early day 3 guy, where that would be intriguing. Where if he's sitting for 2 years, learning behind a consummate pro and Super Bowl champion in Stafford, I like that idea. I am for the idea of keeping Stafford, but also having a backup plan or a succession plan in place by trying to find a guy in either this year's draft or next year's draft. I'm all for that idea, Rob, for sure.
All right, yeah. Do you think that Stafford would have a problem with it at all? With Rodgers had with Love or any of that controversy?
I don't know, Rob, and appreciate the call. From everything we see right now about Matthew Stafford, it seems like he's a good teammate. There was that I was going to say report, but it came right from his wife's mouth. So this is, I guess, her reporting it and saying it, that there was some disconnect, right? Remember that beginning of training camp last year in 2023 when Kelly Stafford on her podcast was talking about how Matthew's having trouble connecting with some of the younger guys. The Rams went to the playoffs that year. So maybe in training camp early on, did he have trouble connecting with a bunch of young guys? Because especially on defense, that was the year that the Rams really turned over the roster after missing the playoffs in 2022. Brought in a whole bunch of young guys in 2023, turned it around and made the playoffs. Maybe that was a good learning lesson for Matthew Stafford and how to engage and interact with players that are a lot younger than him. I mean, think about it, right? He's 37. You draft a guy that's 21, 15, 16 years is huge of an age gap and a culture gap as well. But by everything we know and have read and listened to Matthew Stafford publicly, if let's just say that the name you use, Rob, Quinn Ewers is drafted by the Rams, there's no reason for me to believe right now that Matthew Stafford wouldn't be a good mentor, wouldn't do a good job of showing Quinn Ewers the ropes here for the next 2 years, especially when you kind of think, okay, this is not just a one-year thing, got to show him everything, and the next year is going to take over. Having 2 years, I think, kind of, again, helps the runways to make it easier, less pressure, kind of slow the development down. I think makes it easier for everybody here as well. I think that would be a good option for the Rams, a prudent idea for the Rams here as you try to go from Stafford to the next quarterback. I think trying to take a stab in the draft could absolutely do that. 855-212-4227. That is the number to call. Ryan_Hickey3 is the option to tweet. And the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page is the option to watch and also chime in the chat section there as well. We're taking your thoughts here on the future of Matthew Stafford. Does it make sense for the Rams to trade him or keep him? And speaking of the future of a quarterback, I'll tell you why no team should sign Aaron Rodgers this offseason. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night.
I just want to first say that you guys always entertain me. I'm a bartender. I always drive home at night. I love you guys. You always entertain.
Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Can't Stop Me Now. Great song. Thank you, Ray, for coming back with this song. That's actually a song that's been stuck in my head all week. My girlfriend probably hates it at this point because I'm singing this, like if it's stuck in my head, I will sing it all the time. And my singing habits reminisce my listening habits, which is that when it comes to music, I just beat a song into the ground where I can listen to it 10 times a day for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. I'm basically what top hits radio is. You just play the best 3 or 4 songs every hour for like 3 weeks straight. Just beat it in your brain till you're sick of it. Then, okay, we're going to move on into the next hot song that comes in. That's how I consume my music. So even though this is not a new song per se, this has been in my head, in my rotation a lot recently, along with, ironically enough, Let It Rock by Lil Wayne and Kevin Rudolph. That was a throwback that popped into my brain as well this week that now has gotten a lot of burn as well. So that'll be like a 2-week run. Then we're going to be on to the next one here. So oldies, new ones in the mix here as well. The listening habits are all the same, which is just beat it into the ground. And this song has been one of those here as well. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Appreciate you tuning us here, or joining us here, I should say, tuning in on this Sunday evening. We've talked a lot about the future of Matthew Stafford. I think the Rams should want to keep him and do everything possible to make sure he's their quarterback in 2025. There's really no dollar figure amount, and that's kind of what sparked the report from the NFL Network this weekend that Matthew Stafford's been allowed to kind of seek a trade or seek what his value is, talk to other teams. Stafford wants a pay raise. And even though he's 37 years old and has been banged up a lot in his career, and I would probably say he has 2 really high-level years of play left, I'm paying him any money in the world because I still think he can get the Rams to a Super Bowl in the next year or two. One guy that I would not sign, no matter what the money, if he was free, if he said, I will come to your team and play for literally $0, the one guy I have zero interest, and all 32 teams should have zero interest in signing is Aaron Rodgers. Because if you sign Aaron Rodgers, if a team signs AR this offseason, here's what they're getting. They're getting a 41-year-old quarterback who's a shell of himself physically, who wants full control of the organization, whether it's the coaches coaching him or the players he's throwing the football to. He provides zero leadership at the most important leadership position in all of sports. He does not like criticism. He does not, take coaching well. He does not like negativity being directed towards him. And this is a guy that constantly creates distractions, either to stay relevant, but that also detract from winning as well. So when you hear what you're signing up for, when you hear what you're getting with Aaron Rodgers, why would anybody sign up for that? Why would anyone want a piece of the Aaron Rodgers experience? It's beyond me. It is beyond me. But I'm surprised at the amount of reported teams so far that could be interested in Aaron Rodgers. This week, Adam Schefter floated out the Rams. If they do trade Stafford, well, a viable option to replace him is Rodgers. The Steelers have been a team that's been connected. The 49ers I've seen as a team that's connected. There's some high-level teams here that are hoping for, at least to make the playoffs bare minimum, but try to win a Super Bowl that have been connected to the former Jets quarterback. And it seems like there's at least mutual interest because Rodgers this week caught up with TMZ of all people. And they were asking him here what he's looking for in his next team. Take a listen to what Aaron Rodgers is prioritizing.
What is something you take into consideration? Like what factors?
If they want you.
They want you, what else? Anything else? They
got a good team.
So it's simple. He wants to be wanted and he wants to go to a good team. And again, the Rams, the Steelers, the 49ers, just three teams that have been floated out there / connected / maybe reportedly interested in signing up for the Aaron Rodgers business. Those are teams that obviously check both of those boxes, or at least the box of they are a good team. But teams that are looking to bring Rodgers in to win a Super Bowl, again, the 49ers, Steelers, Rams, I think would be checking those boxes of trying to win a Super Bowl with the one-time Super Bowl champion. I just don't get how you can watch Aaron play and think he's still a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. He's not. And even though he was able to stay healthy for 17 games this season, if you watch those games that Aaron Rodgers played in, his body's frail. He's limping around out there. His arm's not what he used to be. His legs are having a tough time playing all 17 games. He's able to power through and was tough enough to start and finish all 17 games. But that's not a guy where his level of play warranted Super Bowl contention. He's just not good anymore. The Jets season really went out from under them. They lost 9 out of 10 games right in the middle of the season. It wasn't the defense's fault predominantly. Look at Aaron Rodgers in that game. In that stretch, had an 88.9 passer rating, which would be right in between the likes of Joe Flacco and Kirk Cousins. Does that sound like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback to you? And in that 10-game stretch, the Jets offense scored just 18.4 points per game. He's no longer a quarterback that's capable of winning you a playoff game, let alone multiple playoff games to get you to and possibly win a Super Bowl. So when you look at other options here for teams, I'd feel much more comfortable with Sam Darnold than I would with Aaron Rodgers. And even with what we watched with Darnold the last 2 games where it was just a complete meltdown and the old Jets Darnold showed up there against the Lions and against the Rams. I don't see how if you're a team looking to make the playoffs or win a Super Bowl, how you can justify bringing Aaron in. If you're a team right now that's looking to develop a young quarterback and maybe think, okay, we'll have him sit for a year, we'll bring in a veteran starter, have him learn the ropes, ask Zach Wilson. I don't think that's a guy that you want, teaching your quarterback and trying to mentor him. And then even if you're a team right now in the middle that's looking like the Raiders, let's say, amongst others that are just trying to get by for a year, find a plug-and-play kind of guy, there are plenty of those guys that don't bring the headaches that Aaron Rodgers brings. Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. You're going to get all the same amount of play from those guys, a lot less headaches from any of those 4 guys I listed compared to the 41-year-old Rodgers. So when you look around now and you start to hear the name Aaron Rodgers more and more these next few weeks because he is going to be a free agent. And now teams are going to be able to start talking to and signing quarterbacks. And you're hearing this week with the reports of the Rams and Stafford's future that could be a landing spot potentially for Aaron if Stafford is moved out of L.A. I just don't see a team where it makes sense, no matter what position you are in, where it makes sense bringing in a 41-year-old quarterback whose talent no longer outweighs the headaches he brings along with him. This is a guy that should be forced into retirement, not because he wants to, but because nobody wants him. If you, though, can do the impossible, which is, I think, make a strong case here to bring Aaron Rodgers in, if you still think there's some good left in him, some juice worth the squeeze, make your case. I want to hear it. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. If you right now are a fan of a team that needs quarterback help and you think Aaron can be the solution, 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts here. We'll get your reactions on Matthew Stafford's future, on Aaron Rodgers' future. We'll do all that. But first, the latest sports update on what has been a very busy Sunday to update you. Here he is, Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
We're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. We'll tip off the NBA. One game is still going on, 2:21 to go in the third quarter. And the Thunder leading the T-Wolves 92-91. Now to the finals. We start in Indiana.
Lillard's got it with 8 to shoot, bleeding that clock down. They can get a bucket here, would go a long ways. Nice move. Lillard slithers his way inside and lays it off the window and in. 7-point lead again. Bucks just keep making plays here in this fourth quarter.
That was Dave Cohn on Bucks Radio, and that was the Bucks over the Heat, 120-113. Damian Lillard with 28 points. Meanwhile, in Indiana, it was the Pacers over the Clippers, 129-111. Tyrese Halliburton with 29 points and 12 assists. Elsewhere, Cavaliers topped the Grizzlies, 129-123. The Pelicans beat the Spurs, 114-96. Zion Williamson with 22 points. The Raptors over the Suns, 127-109. Magic, 110. Wizards, 90. The Pistons over the Hawks, 148-143. Cade Cunningham with 38 points. The Warriors over the Mavericks, 126-102. The Celtics beat the Knicks, 118-105. College basketball, St. John's over UConn, 89-75. Indiana beat Purdue, 73-58. It was Memphis over FAU, 84-65. The NHL, Capitals over the Oilers, 7-3. Alex Ovechkin with a hat trick. He's got 882 career goals, 13 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's career record of 894. NASCAR, Christopher Bell wins at Atlanta. Carson Hocevar finished second. Kyle Larson came in third. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going, man? Always love your show. When I hear you, I got to pull over, man, because you just are spitting out some crazy facts, man. Just love your work, sir.
Here's Ryan Hickey.
About 17 minutes from now, if we want to get super, super exact, we've talked a lot about the future of Matthew Stafford. I don't think he will be traded, nor do I think he should be traded. Let's say I'm wrong and I'm 0 for 2 and he is traded. Where's the best landing spot? Which team can truly go from where they are to a level or two up if they land Matthew Stafford? There's one team I've identified that immediately becomes a Super Bowl contender that is not currently right now, just with the simple addition of Matthew Stafford. I'll tell you who that team is. And again, in about 17 minutes or so, top of the hour, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. One thing that I enjoyed actually this weekend was not just some good family time. I had a nice, huge family dinner that my grandpa put together. My dad's one of 10. He's the oldest of 10, actually. So as you can imagine, family gatherings are pretty big. So it was nice to be able to spend a nice weekend here with a lot of extended family that live in Florida, live in San Diego. So it was great to see everyone else. Bunch of cousins that as well I haven't seen in a while. So a nice Hickey family gathering this weekend. But other than that, what else was cool was seeing MLB institute the new challenge policy. Now, it's not going to be implemented here for 2025, but hopefully for 2026, it's the ABS challenge system is what they're calling it, where a batter, a pitcher, or a catcher, I should say, is able to in real time challenge a strike or ball call made by an umpire. And it's like, if you haven't seen it, you should try to check it out. It's pretty cool. It's a lot like the tennis replay system, right? If you ever watch tennis, they want to replay. They basically wait for the big monitor to come in and you see the ball and it either hits in or out. It makes a call, but it happens within like 15 seconds. And then we get the ruling and move on. There's no huddling up like, in the NBA or the NFL where you're looking at referees looking at their own replays. This is instantaneous. Computer shows it, boom, boom, in or out. In this case for baseball, ball or strike, it's on the big screen. Or I guess in the case of ballparks, it's on the main jumbotron as well. So you can watch it in the stands, watch it in TV. Player, batter thinks a strike calls a ball, taps his helmet. We see, okay, here comes on the big screen, challenge is, and then you see it right there. The strike zone either hits the strike zone or it doesn't. It either call stands or it's overturned. I like it. It's quick. It's simple. It's not ambiguous, which is something I get very frustrated with when it comes to rules in the NFL. I think there are too many rules in the NFL that are ambiguous, that go from crew to crew that can be interpreted differently, which I think leads to frustration from fans when games are not called the same because there's so much judgment involved. When you can get just black and white, right or wrong, strike or ball, I think it helps ease a lot of frustrations from fans. This is cool. So this was our first weekend now with spring training back to see this. Again, it's not going to be implemented in 2025. It will be in the minor leagues, but not in the majors here. But major league players are allowed to use it and test it out here in spring training for this spring training. And maybe by next year we'll see it implemented. But I think it's a great idea. MLB does deserve credit. They've implemented a lot of rules that I think have helped make the game better and more enjoyable. Pitch clock, I think, has been great. The bigger bases trying to lead to more steals has been great. Now this challenge system, I think, kind of can help bring in and rein in some frustration from fans and from players when an umpire is calling a certain strike zone one way that's just sometimes out of control, either pro player or pro batter or pro pitcher. I think just helps bring some regularity to the game, which I think will make everybody happy. Very cool. Very excited for. Hopefully next year we do see it implemented in Major League Baseball. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Mike calling from San Francisco. What's up, Mike?
Mr. Hickey, how are you, sir?
Hello, man. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Hold on. Let me take you off speaker. I'm in my car. Hold on 1 second.
No worries, Mike. I appreciate that. You're putting the listener first there.
Hey, but just came out from having a dinner. Anyway, first time talking with you. I've talked with Shep, Amy, and I believe Rich as well. But
very nice. Very
first
cool.
off, diehard Bay Area fan, Niners, Giants, Warriors. If Rodgers comes to the Niners, I just the thought of it is making me queasy. Also,
agree.
I mean, could you even see him playing for Tomlin? Wouldn't put up with that stuff either. I mean, I don't know. I just
Well, the thing with Mike Tomlin is,
then,
Mike, right? He does have a penchant for liking players that do cause a lot of drama. George Pickens, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. You know, Mike Tomlin has been a guy that I think gets the reputation of no nonsense, but he has allowed a lot of nonsense. Now, again, not mostly at the quarterback position. It's mostly been at receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster doing the TikToks before games. He didn't really put a stop to that. Like, he has had plenty of distractions that he's put up with, let's say, not exactly put the kibosh on.
Man, and like you said, he does have a lot of clout. He does. Tomlin there. But, I don't know. I mean, Rodgers, I just think, and I'll put it nicely, he just should go on one of those hikes in the wilderness on one of his dark hikes or whatever he called it.
Yeah.
And
take a permanent vacation.
Anyway, one last comment, Bud. I wanted just to say, you said you were going to announce it about 9 p.m. I'm in San Francisco, as you know, but the destination you would think Bradford should go to.
Stafford.
My first guess would be Minnesota, but they're pretty much set up. Forgive me, but their backup quarterback, who's
J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. So I off the top of my head, I really can't think of another team. I'll leave you with that.
Okay.
I will keep listening. I've got to get back in because the lady wants to watch a movie. I hope it's good.
Did you come out just to talk to us, Mike?
Yeah.
Wow. Good for, I appreciate that, Mike. That's dedication. Get back inside before you get in trouble.
No, I love her to death. I've been with her for years, but you know, I'd rather not sleep on the couch tonight. So I'm gonna get back inside.
I hear you, Mike. You got yourself a real one there. Appreciate the call. That's good. Good for your lady. I will say I did well myself here. My girlfriend Lauren, she's a trooper. She is very patient. To where we've gone on plenty of dates. We've gone on plenty of vacations. We've gone on plenty of weddings as well, where there are big games on, and she may not like it, but we'll say tolerates having a phone at dinner, having a game on. The tough part is, and this is why I'm trying to angle to not have a fall wedding eventually when that day does come, because we started dating, and we've been dating now for 7 years, going on 8. Our anniversary is in October, which is a huge college football fan, is tough for me because we just had our latest anniversary on a Saturday in October. And so because she's been always so good and so patient when it comes to dealing with games and kind of working her schedule around my schedule, which I work myself around which games are on, and okay, we can go at this time because this game's on at night, or I watch this and we'll go out afterwards, whatever. We went to a spa in New York City during the day on Saturday. And I did not have my phone with me, which was extremely difficult. So that was the day that Ohio State almost lost to Nebraska. And so I'm trying to get updates and check my phone periodically as that game's going on. Then we come back and I'm catching some of the 3:30 games that there was really nothing, no crazy upset, no crazy matchup to begin with. Then we go to dinner, doesn't stop, dinner. And at least then I kind of had my phone out, perched out. So she's a patient gal, my Lauren. But if you got a good one in there, like Mike says he does as well, lock her up, because not many people are understanding, let's say, of how important sports can be in our lives and are not exactly willing to schedule their lives around some sports games that we want to see. Billy is calling from Georgia. What's up, Billy?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Ryan. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, I just want to, I was listening to you talk about Matthew Stafford, right?
Billy, can you do us one quick favor here? It'll take 2 seconds. Can you turn the radio off in the background?
I got you.
Thank you, sir. You can hear me right now talking to you.
Okay. About Matthew Stafford, what they keep talking about getting these other quarterbacks, but where's Stetson Bennett at? Another Georgia cat.
Where's he at in terms of the options for the Rams if they move off Stafford? He's option Z.
Is he still with the team?
He is.
So you don't think he would be a better option than them going out and finding another
I
quarterback?
do not. No, considering the last we saw of Stetson Bennett was in the national title game at Georgia 2 years ago. Outside of a few preseason snaps, I'm not trading Matthew Stafford, Billy, for anything. Period. Like, I'm not trading him for Sam Darnold. I'm not trading him for Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, whatever. I sure as hell am not trading Matthew Stafford and putting my eggs in the Stetson Bennett basket. This ain't Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
But I agree with you about Aaron Rodgers, though. He might well go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, sit down permanently. Billy, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, the Stetson Bennett is not a name we've heard in a while. Is that a weird situation where he was away from the team in his rookie year that was really not talked about or many details given, at least that I've seen? He's still there. He's still kicking at like 31 years old. I mean, he's almost as old as Stafford at this point. How long he was at Georgia for. Yeah, I don't think Stetson Bennett is even a thought in the mind of Sean McVay when he's talking about options that he has to consider if Stafford is ended up traded this offseason, which again, I don't think is going to happen at all. But let's say again I'm wrong, and Matthew Stafford is traded. There is one team out there in the NFL that automatically, immediately becomes a Super Bowl contender with number 9 under center for this team. I'll tell you this team when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Looking for a man after midnight? You've come to the right place. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. If you missed any part of the show so far, check out the Hick at Night podcast feed, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. That you can catch up so far in the first 2 hours of the show. A fun next 2 hours here we got for you, including talking a lot about the future of Matthew Stafford, who we learned over the weekend, according to NFL Network, is allowed to explore his value around the league. His agent can talk to other teams, see what a potential contract extension could look like for Matthew Stafford, who's looking for a pay raise, who at 37 wants to get a new deal. Can also look at, I guess, what potential trade packages would be offered if the Rams did entertain trading Matthew Stafford. And so a lot of teams right now that have been discussed, bandied about, some reported, some assumed, that could be in the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes here if that sweepstakes does open up. The New York Giants, Pittsburgh Steelers, Las Vegas Raiders. Now, those are the three main teams I've seen kind of surrounding Stafford in terms of who would be the most likely to trade for him. Well, I think there's one team right now in the league that's realistic, that goes from playoff contender to Super Bowl contender just by landing the services of Stafford. It's the Minnesota Vikings. They, to me, are absolutely a Super Bowl contender if they can pull off a trade and get Matthew Stafford from LA to Minnesota. I try to do the deal, by the way, if I am Minnesota. Because you look right now, this team, they are built to win right now, right? You have the best wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison came on this year and I thought did a really good job at kind of filling that number 2 role. They have Aaron Jones, who, when he's healthy, is a pretty solid running back, a solid offensive line protecting the quarterback up front. And you have a defense right now led by Brian Flores, who's coming back next year, that was top 5 in points per game allowed, sacks, turnover differential. 3 of the most important key stats here when it comes to winning games and especially come playoff time, winning playoff games. They are set to win right now. So when you look at Minnesota and the direction they can go in, I don't think it makes the most sense for them with Stafford potentially out there for them to bypass that option to either re-sign Sam Darnold, who is probably commanding, let's say, similar money that you would pay Stafford, $40, $45, $50 million a year. I'm assuming that's what Darnold is looking for. I'm assuming that's also what Stafford's looking for as well. So for the same price, for the most part, I know Darnold's a lot younger, but for roughly the same price, you can get a guy that you don't have to worry about come playoff time. You have to worry about Sam Darnold if you sign him to a big deal, no matter who you are, about his play in the postseason, because the two biggest games of the year we saw from Minnesota, he totally choked. Held onto the ball too long, got sacked a million times, especially in that Rams game. Darnold has to prove he can elevate his game in the postseason the way he did in the regular season. He hasn't proven that yet. So it's a gigantic risk. So if you're Minnesota, why risk bringing back Darnold when you can go try to trade for Stafford and a guy who is a proven winner, who's a proven big game player, who has a ring on his finger? Why not bring that guy into a team ready to win right now and capitalize on another 2 or 3 year window? And the other option for Minnesota, right, if it's not going to be Sam Darnold, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy, the guy they drafted in the first round last year, who, because of injury, with having that knee surgery early on in the preseason, missed the entire. I mean, he was not going to play anyway with how well Darnold played, right? But he missed the entire year anyway and was not on the scout team, was not taking any reps, was just rehabbing after the knee surgery. So he's now a guy who's a rookie who's had no practice really whatsoever outside of a few OTAs and early training camp practices. Do you really want to now give him the keys coming off a year in which you won 14 games and hope that he does well? Hope that he hits the ground running? Hope that he can prove to be your franchise guy? Or would you rather have a known commodity when it comes to Matthew Stafford? I'd much rather have a known commodity in Stafford than trot out a rookie, unknown, gigantic question mark in McCarthy, where even though Kevin O'Connell talks about how high he is on J.J. McCarthy, how excited he is, how much a team believes in him, it's more likely that McCarthy flops, and fails than it does hit. Right? Most first-round quarterbacks are busts. They don't work out. They need to go elsewhere if they end up working out to a different situation. So even though this is a situation and an offense and a coach that's better than most first-round picks would have, there's no guarantee. And again, it's more of a likelihood McCarthy's not good than he is good. So the roster ready to win right now, that won 14 games in the regular season, that was one win away from having the NFC run through Minnesota. When you're that close and have that much momentum, wouldn't you rather go all in and say, you know what, we're going to go for it right now? Our fans have never seen a Super Bowl victory. There's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback out there. Let's go get him. How can you not take that risk? Put your chips in. You know, I got some poker here on the TV in the studio. All in. Put your chips in the middle of the table and say, we're going to bring in Matthew Stafford because we're going to try to win a Super Bowl right now. And also, by the way, what helps the transition for Stafford and prevent this from being the Kirk Cousins in Atlanta situation from last year is on top of the fact that I think Stafford's just a better quarterback than Cousins, in a better place physically than Cousins was coming off of the torn Achilles. You also have the fact that there's familiarity. Even though Stafford's never played in Minnesota, never played with Justin Jefferson, his head coach and Kevin O'Connell, where was he before he became the Minnesota head coach in 2022? He was the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford in 2021, the year they won the Super Bowl. There's familiarity there. There's some continuity there. You can now hit the ground running quicker than you otherwise would by bringing in a new quarterback because you already worked together and by the way, already did it. You won. I think to me it's a no-brainer. If you're Minnesota, that's the team. That's a team that should pull the trigger here, especially when you look at the options Minnesota has. It could be Stafford or Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. Speaking of those options, Kevin O'Connell recently was talking with SiriusXM NFL Radio, and talked about the options, Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, when it comes to who could be the Vikings quarterback here in 2025.
We're excited to have a full offseason with him. Still have a possibility of bringing Sam Darnold back. There's all kinds of franchise tags and trying to maybe negotiate a longer-term deal. But I do know this. I think Sam Darnold is the marquee player at the position available in free agency. And if he gets a chance to really see what's out there, I think a lot of teams are going to be hoping to have that kind of production from Sam Darnold for their team. And if that's the case, if that's how it all shakes out, nobody will be more proud than Sam than me.
Look, he's a diplomat, right? So he's not going to reveal his hand, to keep the card analogy going here. He likes J.J. McCarthy. He loves Sam Darnold. Maybe he's back in Minnesota, but if not, he'll be very happy for him wherever he does land and get paid. That was before we knew about the availability of Stafford, before the Rams gave Stafford and his representation the ability to kind of poke their head around and see, okay, what's out there. If you're Minnesota, these opportunities flash few and far between in front of you. I think you got to pounce. Again, the Rams pounced a few years ago when they had the opportunity to move off of Jared Goff, a guy they got to a Super Bowl with, to upgrade for Stafford. If Stafford truly is available, which again, I'm leery of. I'm not buying that he actually is available. I would be shocked if we're talking about anything but Stafford being in LA long-term. Long-term, okay. Short-term here in the next 2 or 3 years. I would be shocked if we're not talking about a new deal coming. If he's actually traded, though, if you're Minnesota, how can you allow him to go anywhere else? Again, look at what's out there. Giants are a team that's very well connected to Stafford. Hired his brother-in-law. They need a quarterback. They have a pick at number 3 that maybe they'd be forced to give up, or maybe the Rams take the risk of Stafford not coming in and elevating this Giants roster, so maybe you take their 2026 first-round pick. Either way, the Giants have been a team that's been really the most rumored to be interested in trying to trade for Matthew Stafford. If you're the Vikings, not that the Giants are leaping over you with Stafford, not at all, but why wouldn't you go all in? Why wouldn't you give your fans a legitimate opportunity with a real quarterback who's done something before, a chance to go out there and try to win a Super Bowl? I mean, think about it, right? They've had Sam Darnold this year play way better than expected, but when push comes to shove, the biggest moment, right? Sam did not play well, did not come through for them, and their season ended a lot shorter than many fans thought it would. Before that, he replaced Kirk Cousins, who is a very good regular season quarterback, not the best postseason quarterback. And we saw, again, promising Minnesota Vikings regular seasons and prematurely because the quarterback could not elevate his game in the biggest moments. Go back to Case Keenum and that beatdown that they suffered against the Eagles in 2017 in the NFC title game, the last time that they were, that close to a Super Bowl. They got run out of Philly. Minnesota's had good teams before. They've had good regular seasons. They've never, though, had in their recent history a quarterback that could elevate the team in the postseason. Matthew Stafford is that guy. Go for it. Go all in. Get Stafford in purple if he's available. And I think if so, you do become a Super Bowl contender overnight with Matthew Stafford as your quarterback in Minnesota. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. If Matthew Stafford truly is available for a trade, what is the best landing spot for him? Where is the place he could go and have the most success in 2025? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Also could tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. Let's go to our good old friend, Mr. Positive, Greg in Michigan, to talk about this. Hello, Gregory.
Ryan, oh my God. If Stafford goes to the Minnesota Twins, the Detroit Lions don't have a chance. Number one, the NFC North had so many, 12-win teams, 4 or 5 of them. The Lions are in disarray. Yes, we've got a good team. We have no coaches. Our sizzle. This is not good. And Stafford
Is
should go to the
Mr.
Minnesota
Positive
Twins.
being negative?
Well,
Again?
No, our Sizzle, it's just the idea that I know how good he is, and he's going to come in and go, I'm going to show the Detroit Lions. And you just nailed it. The head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, he played under. He's got,
They have a ring together.
Yeah, they have a ring together, and they have, they work together well. And, oh, my God, I hope my Warriors in Michigan are not upset at me, but no, we can't have that. It's been bandied about here on the station in Detroit that if that happens and we have no coaches, it's a situation. We might make the playoffs, but nowhere near are we going to go to the Super Bowl. So, no, you're spot on with your analysis.
Wow.
And, hey, thanks for taking my call. Everybody, go for your dreams. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Positivity. Checking in from Detroit, Michigan, bringing a lot of negativity, at least from the perspective of Lions fans. Like, think about it. If we're talking about Stafford to Minnesota, and Greg brought up the point of how good the NFC North is, with the Lions, Vikings, and Packers all making the playoffs, all winning double-digit games, and the Bears at least having a promising future here with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, I think we're talking about the Vikings next year, again, not only as a Super Bowl contender, but I think the team to beat in the NFC North. In the best division in the NFL going to 2025, I think Minnesota plants their flag as the best team in that division if they can get number 9 on their team as quarterback. Even if they have to give up a first-round pick, even if they trade their first-round pick this year, I still feel that good about their ability to draft, develop, and again, feel that good about Stafford fitting in with that offense, playing under that head coach, by the way, reigning coach of the year, and Kevin O'Connell's done a great job in Minnesota, getting the most out of any and every quarterback he's played with. Yeah, I think, again, he would, if Matthew Stafford truly is available and on the block, I think we're looking at Matthew Stafford here in Minnesota having a lot of success, which would be to the dismay of, as we heard from Mr. Positive and a lot of other fans up there in Detroit. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. That is the number to call about the best possible landing spot for Matthew Stafford. If he is traded, what is the team that benefits the most from landing Stafford's services? You can also tweet me your answer, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter, or can write your answer in on our YouTube chat, which can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page, where we stream this show live again every single Sunday night right there on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. We'll get your thoughts when we return. And also, let's talk a little college hoops. I thought today St. John's UConn was one of the most telling college basketball games of the season. I'll tell you what I saw when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Now is the time, I'm sure, if you are not a huge college basketball fan, but want to get your brackets looking good, want to be the smartest person in the office, win the pool and the prize. Now is probably the time, or maybe the last few weeks have been the time. February is the month where you really kind of start to hone in, lock in to some college hoops to kind of figure out which teams you're going to ride in March Madness, which teams you're going to stay away from and fade. I hoped you watched St. John's UConn earlier today because I thought it revealed a lot about both teams heading into March. Here's what I saw. Let's start with St. John's. This to me looks like a Final Four team. Like I am in on the Johnnies making a deep March run here because I think they possess a few of the characteristics needed that a lot of these good teams have that equals success come tournament time. Number one, they have a great coach in Rick Pitino. He is one of the best tournament coaches in all of college basketball. He may be a complete slime bag and scumbag off the court, but damn, does this guy know how to coach? He is really damn good and has shown it now with St. John's that he actually has some talent playing for him, but his guys are always smart. They play hard. They're resilient. And that's it too. Like, it's not just the fact, like, if you watch St. John's, it feels like they always know what they're doing. There's little miscommunication. There's always a plan offensively and defensively They just have a lot of good basketball IQ that I'm sure Rick Pitino's instilled and looks for when he's recruiting players. But it's also the fact that they're mentally tough. Like Rick Pitino is still an old school coach. He coaches like, when he started coaching in the 80s and the 90s. Like this is a guy who still brings or still demands is the better word. He still demands like that you are going to be a resilient basketball player, that you're going to be mentally tough. Like, I want you to listen to this from Vice Sports. This was Rick Pitino in the locker room last week, kind of giving his guys a halftime pep talk. Just listen to how he's talking and what he's talking about, kind of get that old school coaching and how that I think will translate here to a lot of March success.
Dig in and be a basketball player. Dig in. Every time you miss a shot, your game deflates. We don't care about your missed shots. Play defense. You guys keep blowing opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. You're like children with bad things happening. Instead of digging in and be tougher, you wilt. Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life's going to be adversity. Learn how to deal with it.
That's awesome. That got me fired up. Ooh, I got some chills going down the spine there. But like you hear that, right? And what did Rick Pitino in that 45 seconds talk about? He didn't talk about running a pick and roll. He didn't talk about their drop defense. He literally talked about manning up and just being tough. That when things don't go your way, you dig in, you get tougher. How about this come March, when the lights get brighter and everybody's watching and everyone wants to be the hero here, and maybe now St. John's, who's looking to be a 3 seed, maybe a 2 seed here, come tournament time, well, as we know, as crowds and whatever, as underdogs start to get closer, right, and they're kind of sniffing that upset, the crowds usually pull for the underdog. So in that moment, right, if you're in a tough game against, I don't know, let's call it Buffalo or Marist, how do you respond? And we've seen plenty of big teams fold and allow for some of these monumental upsets. And you hear Rick Pitino talk, it feels like St. John's will be upset proof, in part because if things aren't going your way, he's already instilling now, well before March, and he's been doing this his entire coaching career, mental toughness. When things get tough, the tough get going. That to me does not sound, and watching them seem like a team that's going to crack. Even earlier today, they're just hammering UConn. St. John's is up by 18 at halftime. But UConn's a championship level program, right? Like Dan Hurley's not going to just roll down and die and allow his team to get steamrolled by 30 points. UConn came out swinging in the second half. They made a run, and there was a good amount of UConn fans at MSG today to where you could kind of feel, okay, maybe the tide is turning. Here comes UConn. They're down by 18. Now it's 15. Now it's 13. Now it's 11. Now it's 9. All of a sudden, here are guys making shots, getting some stops on defense. And St. John's, it felt like every time UConn went on a run to try to get some sort of the game back here, make it competitive, and just make it a question mark, St. John's always took the game. Took it right back. Anytime UConn tried to take it, St. John's grabbed right back. That's a mentally tough team. That's a quality and a trait you have to have come tournament time that St. John's absolutely possesses. The other thing that I love about the Johnnies that I think will translate here to a lot of March success and a deep run is their defense. I think shot making in college basketball sometimes is hit or miss, but great defense travels. And this is the number 2 defense in terms of defensive rating according to Ken Palm. This team defends. They rebound really well. They bring energy. They're long. They're athletic. Like, this is a team that's hungry. I think defense is a lot about effort. St. John's has the effort. And so when you look at it, if you're able to watch them, and if you haven't already, I definitely highly suggest watching them here anytime soon, especially in the Big East tournament here. I think they check a lot of the boxes you need to check in order to make a deep tournament run. There are a few teams I trust more right now than St. John's come tournament time. They have the makings to be a Final Four team. I don't think it's hyperbole or getting caught up in the moment. They have the coaching. They have the toughness. They got the defense for it. This team's going to be an extremely difficult out come March. That's what I saw from St. John's side. On the flip side, look, I've been holding out hope with UConn. I've been giving them the respect I think a two-time defending national champ deserves. I've seen enough. I'm waving the white flag. I've seen enough from UConn this year in terms of holding out hope that they are going to be a dangerous team come tournament time. I am out on the Huskies. They're not three-peating. I don't think they're even making the Sweet 16. They're projected right now to be like an 8 or a 9 seed, kind of right in that 8-9 toss-up game. They could win one game. They're not making it to the Sweet 16. Number one is the flat-out talent-wise team's just not very good. They lost a lot of talent over the last 2 years to the draft off of their back-to-back national championship winning teams. They just don't have the talent they did each of the last 2 years. But what I'm also surprised about, because it goes beyond just talent, the effort hasn't been there. Again, I told you just before, I think defense, especially in college basketball, a lot of it is just effort. Which defensive teams try the hardest and the most consistently week in and week out? And you look at UConn, their defense is pitiful. It is awful. They've been one of the worst defensive teams in college basketball all season long. They're 95th in terms of KenPom defensive efficiency. And that to me is shocking because most of the reason why I kept on holding out hope for this team of having a turnaround and being once again a dangerous team that legitimately has a chance to three-peat has been because their head coach Dan Hurley, right? Who never allows anybody to take a finger off the gas, to even get complacent for a hot second. But yet you look at the effort from this UConn team, it's not there. Their defense is porous. They're getting just bodied on the boards. St. John's is grabbing every offensive rebound. They're sloppy when it comes to handling the ball in these two losses they've had to St. John's, which, by the way, Johnny's first season sweep of UConn in 25 years. And they've done so on the back of defense and effort and keeping the ball clean. UConn turned the ball over a combined 40 times in this month when they've played St. John's twice. They've been sloppy, have made a lot of shots. I'm out on UConn. I've been holding out hope for the longest time that this is a team that, look, say what you want about them now. You want to bash them now. They could pay for it come March. I'm now joining the crew that's bashing them. I'm out. This Huskies team's not good enough. They don't have the qualities that you need to three-peat or at least make some noise in March. I think the Huskies will go out quietly here. So the St. John's UConn game earlier today was a good one. It was a fun one, at least if you're a St. John's fan. I thought it was also telling on both sides. I thought you see Final Four potential here from the Johnnies, and I think for UConn, if you were holding out hope, if you were like me still thinking, okay, there's still some turnaround here, it's still UConn, they're going to be one of those teams you can't bet against, think again. I have officially waved the white flag on that thought here about UConn being a dangerous March team. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Robbie in Birmingham has some thoughts on that. What's up, Robbie?
Hey, what's going on, bro? I just wanted to comment on the game today. I'm a huge Patino fan since I was a kid, and I even like the Johnnies, actually, late 90s, early 2000s. I always thought they had the sickest jerseys growing up. But
some nice ones, yeah.
Do you remember those? Kind of that late, when they kind of got away from the rounded collars. They went to that V-neck, the wider straps. That was kind of the Kobe era as well when they started winning their championships with Shaq. They kind of went anyway. But yeah, man, and I'm reading Patino's book right now, One Day Contract. I'm watching the documentary. I don't know if you followed that at all, but they're doing an in-season following the team. It's called Red Storm Rising.
Yeah, well, that clip we just played was from that on Vice. It's on Vice, right?
That's right. Yep,
yeah.
There is. Uh-huh.
It's great access.
Phenomenal.
It's awesome.
Phenomenal, man. Great access. They got one on Calipari as well. I'm checking out now. But just a big basketball fan. I'm just excited to see what Patino's done to research his career and those guys, man, like Zuby with his story, just having a chance with St. John's and not really getting looked at other places to see his success. So, I mean, I'd love to see them go deep in the tournament for sure.
I think they got the makings for Robbie. Appreciate the call, buddy. And it's like, look, Rick Pitino, right? It's easy to forget, and honestly, I've been in this boat as well in this camp, when after gets fired from Louisville and kind of gets jettisoned to Greece, then comes back at Iona. Now he got Iona to the tournament, which is commendable, but it's like you forget just when he has the requisite talent, how still good of a coach Pitino is, how much he can get those guys to play really well, and how dangerous a Pitino coach team is come March. You know, like there's a few guys, like Tom Izzo's kind of the same way, right, where you just automatic respect. It's March. Those guys, you don't want to play them because they do a lot of the small things right that end up winning those big games on a big stage against equal and sometimes, more talented teams. He's got the talent. Pitino does. They're listening to him. They're responding well. This team is going. That's a team that, again, I think you circle teams like St. John's. Houston is a team that I really like that I would not want to play come March. Auburn's a team do not want to play come March. Like there are a few of those teams there that's just like, oh boy, as long as we're on the other side of the bracket, other side of the country, even from some of those teams, we feel like we have a chance here to make a deep March run. St. John's this year, one of those teams you do not want to face at all. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Show, of course, is Hick at Night. When we return, I want to get into Kevin Durant, actually. Kevin Durant, I'm a Kevin Durant fan. I think, though, he is going to go down as one of the most underappreciated superstars of all time. And I'll tell you why Kevin Durant has nobody to blame for that but himself. We'll do that after this latest sports flash from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Our riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com. Let's begin with the NBA. We'll start in San Francisco.
Curry waiting. Gets a screen, gets another screen from Looney. Gets Washington, dribbles on him, step back, three off the dribble! Another triple for number 30.
That was Tim Roy on Warriors Radio. Warriors over the Mavs, 126-102. Steph Curry with 30 points. Elsewhere, Thunder 130, T-Wolves 123. The Cavaliers over the Grizzlies 129-123. Pelicans 114, Spurs 96. The Bucks over the Heat 120-113. Raptors 127, Suns 109. The Magic over the Wizards 110-90. The Pistons outlast the Hawks 148-143. 38 points for Cade Cunningham. Pacers top the Clippers 129-111. Warriors 126, Mavericks 102, and the Celtics over the Knicks 118-105. College basketball, St. John's beat UConn 89-75. Indiana 73, Purdue 58, and Memphis over FAU 84-65. Now to hockey as Ovi surges towards the Great One.
2:40 to go in the third period. And a puck that comes to Ovechkin. He scores! He did it! He did it! It's a hat trick for Ovechkin!
John Walton, Capitals Radio. Capitals over the Oilers 7-3. Alex Ovechkin, a hat trick. Now has 882 career goals. He's 13 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL record of 894. Also in the NHL, it was Utah with the Canucks 2-1, Flames 3, Sharks 2, Stars beat the Islanders 4-3, Maple Leafs 5, Blackhawks 2, wins for the Devils, Blues, Rangers, Red Wings, and Lightning. NASCAR, Christopher Bell wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Peter Schwartz.
855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us, the Infinity Sports Network. Give us a call, 855-212-4227. The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stop.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
I'll be real with you. This time we're entering for football only is the time I despise the most. Like combine time, which is rumor time, pro days, and then like the lead up to the draft, where everybody and their mother pretends to be an insider. Everyone and their mother has a source or two or three, And this guy's stock is rising because he interviewed really well. And this guy's stock is dropping because, oh my God, his interviews were so bad beyond belief that who's going to draft him in the first 3 rounds? Like, it's not the reports, because I love rumors. I love them. I think they're fun to talk about here on the show. But like, it's like a lot of the nonsense. They're like, okay, what are we doing here? And it's like 1 week, like, it's almost like it's choreographed too, because like you'll see it here. Just remember this discussion we're having now on February 24th, going into Combine Week and going kind of into the heart of Rumor City in the NFL. You're going to see 1 week like Cam Ward going number 1, no doubt about it. Like he's the guy, he's the top quarterback. It's going to be a fight to get him. Then the next week it's going to be, well, Shedeur Sanders. Now all of a sudden he's making a run, and now teams are like, oh, there are going to be 3 teams trying to trade up to get to Shedeur at number 1, and they're all in. There's no concerns about Dion. They loved his Colorado tape, and his interviews were outstanding. It's all just agent BS that is thrown and peddled to insiders and wannabe insiders, and it's put out there. It's all Twitter fodder and all this stuff and all these fake NFL Twitter accounts like Dove Kleiman that have a lot of following but put out a lot of fake news and a lot of nonsense. Now all of a sudden, like, we'll start tipping discussions one way or another based on what they tweet out there or what report they retweet. It's not true, but they want to, want the engagement, so they're going to retweet it. And they're like, oh man, can you believe this? It's just this time from the combine to, again, the week of the draft, football-wise, drives me crazy because it's so, and I'm also to blame myself because I try to tell myself, look, it's just rumors, don't get wrapped up in them. Then what happens? I get wrapped up in them. Then I start getting emotional. It's like, oh, how dare you say, Cam Ward isn't very good. He's the best quarterback in this class. And then then I fall victim to it, and I start playing the game without realizing it. Then I'm in too deep before I do realize it, and then I drive myself crazy. So maybe this is the advice I'm going to give myself. And if you are someone like me that kind of gets sick and tired of a lot of the back and forth, 1 week this guy's the greatest, the next week this guy's the worst, seesaw, roller coaster that kind of a lot of these draft prospects go on, take a deep breath, take a step back, and just remember, it's all rumors, it's all hearsay. Take it all with a grain of salt. I'm going to try to tell myself that, take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to maybe write it down so it's the first thing I see every day as I'm either looking for stories for this show or getting ready for JR's show. And we're all going to just take the information, digest it, and then go from there, try to figure out fact from fiction. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network, 855-212-4227. Thank you for joining us. If you missed any part of the show, Hick At Nite podcast is where you can catch up. Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. You can watch the show right now currently live on YouTube on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. But if you're unable to watch right now, but you do want to watch going forward here, you can check out my YouTube channel, Ryan Hickey. Check it out, subscribe. A lot of videos from this show and every show I host here on the network are posted there. And a lot of other videos are recorded during the week there as well to react to breaking news, big news clips, whatever it may be. Ryan Hickey on YouTube is where you can find a lot of video content from yours truly. All right, so Kevin Durant is a player that I think, in terms of resume-wise, talent-wise, should go down when it's all said and done as a top 10, top 12 player of all time. But that's not, I don't think he's going to be remembered like that. I think when it's all said and done, Kevin Durant's going to be remembered as the most underappreciated superstar of the modern era. Because this guy is he is an all-time great. He just became recently the 8th player in NBA history to reach 30,000 points. He's got 2 rings on his finger. The guy's still playing at a high level where even at his age, at 36, 37, he's still top 10 in the league in terms of points per game. Guy can score from anywhere still on the floor. He's a walking bucket. He's won 4 gold medals. So he's in Olympic lore. But despite all of these accomplishments that Kevin Durant has, and continuing to get, by the way, I don't think he truly gets the respect he deserves. And Kevin Durant, though, has nobody to blame for that but himself. Because I think when you look at Kevin Durant, right, with the NBA, we kind of take a lot of things into consideration, not just your talent, but also how you conduct yourself and how you kind of run a team. Because the NBA, right, really is the star player runs the team. And that's where Kevin Durant, I think, is underappreciated because his ability to run a team has hurt his career. You know, first of all, what I'm about to say is not like Mr. Macho Male talk. But these terms, I think, are fair to use because it's led Kevin Durant to be judged in a certain way that his peers will not be judged by this. Most NBA superstars are alpha males, right? They're the leader of the team. There's no doubt whose team it is. Everything runs through them. Kevin Durant is really the only superstar I can think of, like true superstar, that is a beta. That is a guy that does not want to be the star of the show. He does not want to be the man. He just wants to go play basketball, does not want any of the other BS that comes with being kind of the face of the franchise. And so with most guys, the Kobe, LeBron, MJ, Wilt, like name any of the all-time greats, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, right? They all were alpha dogs. This is my team, no doubt about it. They would never do what Kevin Durant did in leaving Oklahoma City to go to Golden State to team up with Steph. Where even though Kevin Durant won the finals MVPs, right, and kind of had the offense run through him, that was still a team that was Steph's team. Steph and Clay's team even. Steph, Clay, and Draymond's team that Kevin Durant was playing with. You would never see another superstar of that ilk pull the move the way Kevin Durant did. But that's kind of that beta personality of, I'll go to a team because I don't have to be the alpha dog. I'll go play alongside Steph and it's his team and I'll win rings even though it's kind of considered his team, his group, his championships. I'll still become a part of that. You never really see big-time superstars do that. And then when he decided to try to be the alpha dog and leave Golden State after 3 finals appearances and 2 rings, he goes to Brooklyn, and that was an absolute disaster in large part because Kevin Durant is passive-aggressive and didn't have the leadership that it takes to run a team like that. To run a team, a successful team, the way superstars do. He gets to Brooklyn, fires Kenny Atkinson almost immediately, despite not being able to play for him, because remember, he sat out that first year with the Achilles injury. He decides to team up with Kyrie, of all people, the most mercurial superstar in the NBA, and has no control over him, as Kyrie's out, going AWOL, breaking COVID protocol. Kevin Durant is saying nothing, doing nothing to curb his behavior. He brings in James Harden, another mercurial superstar. Harden and Kyrie do not get along. KD does nothing to mend that fence at all and have those guys work together. Harden basically decides to leave a year after getting there because he didn't like Kyrie. The Nets win 1 playoff series, are 1 toe away from going to the Eastern Conference Final, but otherwise that's the best moment they had in the Kevin Durant era. And then things get so bad and so messy because Kevin Durant's making all these trades and bringing all these guys in, it's not working, that he decides, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm wiping my hands clean 2 years ago and said, I got to get out of here. Brooklyn screwed me, not my own moves. And got his way to Phoenix. Which, by the way, look, not because of Kevin Durant's doing. He's been playing actually really well at a high level. But Phoenix, every single year, went from second round of the playoffs to swept last year to probably not making the playoffs this year. They have gone down. Again, I don't think it's all Kevin Durant's fault. I think it's more Matt Ishbia and his team-building philosophies, led by trading for Bradley Beal, amongst other poor decisions that he made. But Phoenix has gone down. The Nets never got off the ground. You see kind of Kevin Durant's, I think, how he's viewed in the league go down, I think in large part because of the decisions he made. Not because of his talent, because he's an all-time talent. And that resume is an all-time resume. But he's going to go down, I think, as one of the most underappreciated superstars, in part because I think the 2 things people think about right away when they think about Kevin Durant is leaving OKC for the Warriors, and the entire Nets debacle. Kevin Durant, we just went through his resume. You still watch him as a player. He's unbelievable. This guy should, when it's all said and done, be in that top 10 all-time conversation. He won't. And I think he has to blame himself. In large doom because of the moves and decisions he made that a lot of other superstars in his position haven't made. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network, 855-212-4227. A very happy Sunday, now Monday morning for some of you listening. Thank you for joining us. When we return here on the show, there's reports about Matthew Stafford possibly being traded. Will the Rams trade him? I'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's up all night with you.
We could do this all night.
Welcome aboard. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. Ryan Hickey with it right here. Where else? The Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. Winding down the weekend, starting the workday with us. Speaking of which here, a little tease ahead here, 40 minutes or so from now, we got the Sunday Scaries for you. We got some good audio for you in terms of who has the Sunday Scaries, including hearing someone say something on a broadcast over the weekend that I'm sure you've never heard before from a broadcaster, that is. You'll hear that in about 40 minutes or so from now. If you miss any part of the show, through the first 3 hours, Hick at Night podcast, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you get your pods. That is where you can catch up. So the big news, or one of the big stories of the weekend that came out from NFL Network was the fact that the Rams have allowed Matthew Stafford to explore the market. He didn't ask for a trade. They're not exactly allowing him to seek a trade the way they're allowing Cooper Kupp to try to find a trade. But they're allowing, as they're calling it, again, according to NFL Network, Matthew Stafford and his representation to kind of see what's out there, see who would be interested, what they would offer in a potential trade, what they would offer in terms of a new deal. Because Matthew Stafford wants a new contract. He wants to get paid at age 37. And so the Rams here, maybe not liking with the numbers that they've been hearing from the Stafford camp, are saying, you know what? Go see what's out there. So go see what you can find and report back to us. I think when it's all said and done here, we're going to see Matthew Stafford be a Ram, but this just opening the door does allow, right, for the possibility of a trade to go down. But here's why I don't think a trade is likely, nor do I think it will happen. Two reasons, really. Number one, Matthew Stafford is their best option at quarterback here for the next few seasons. And the Rams are right now not in the business of getting worse at quarterback. They're a team on the rise. They just were a play away from beating the Eagles in snowy Philadelphia and going to the NFC title game. They're a young team. They're ascending. Why on earth would they want to trade Stafford without a viable option to replace him? Why would you get worse voluntarily, right? Because you're trading him. You're choosing to trade him. Why would you want to voluntarily get worse at the most important position in sports when your team is young and on the rise? That is not the time you reset a quarterback. That is not the time you trade away a guy who is still capable of winning you a Super Bowl. For what? For the unknown. Like, who are you bringing in that's going to be better than that's going to be better than Matthew Stafford? Sam Darnold? You're bringing in Darnold. Are you going to sell me that Darnold is the better option than Stafford? Come on, you don't believe that, and no one does. Aaron Rodgers? Russell Wilson? You want to draft a quarterback? Like, who are the Rams bringing in where you could truly say, hey, we have a better chance to win a Super Bowl next year with this guy compared to Stafford? Again, with where the Rams are positioned, with the success they had last year, with where their team is right now, they are not trading Stafford unless they can get an upgrade. And last time I checked, Matthew Stafford is still a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's still a guy that, especially come playoff time, raises his level of play and instills fear in his opponents. Listen to this from Darius Slay, courtesy of his podcast, Big Play Slay Podcast. Listen to the way Darius Slay talked about Stafford, this Rams offense, and truly how close they were to taking down the Super Bowl champs.
You know what I'm saying? I think the closest team to us, honestly, in this postseason was the Rams. I think the Rams had the best chance of beating us in the whole postseason, in my opinion. It was complete. They could get after the quarterback, but they couldn't stop the run as much as good. But they had a great offense, and a great offense, like they was good at what they did. They was very good at what they did.
They had a great offense. They were very good at what they did, and they were the team, according to Darius Slay, that was the closest to knocking the Eagles off. I mean, you watch the game, right? It makes sense. Chiefs weren't close. Commanders weren't close. Packers, even though the score was closer, never really felt like they were in the game or close either. The Rams are the only team that pushed the Eagles and made them sweat and made them think. The Rams are legitimately a contender with Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl. Why would you move off of that without having a better option in place? That's why I don't think, number one, the Rams are trading Matthew Stafford. Reason number two is I think if you do trade Stafford, it then makes it easier for Sean McVay to walk away. Think about it. McVay's not a lifer. We had this discussion just 2 years ago after the 2022 season where McVay needed time to contemplate if he could still coach in the NFL, if he still wanted to coach the Rams. He's not like Belichick. He's not like Reed where he's going to be in his 60s and 70s still coaching football. You know, in his late 30s now, with how young he was hired and seemingly how he kind of was already thinking about his next life and what that may look like and the reducing the stress on the hours and probably making, honestly, with how TV pays, right? Probably making more money calling games and analyzing games than he would coaching games. McVay already has his eyes set on his future outside of coaching. And so if that guy already has retirement in the back of his head and almost walked away 1 year removed from a Super Bowl, with still Matthew Stafford as his quarterback, why on earth would he be reinvigorated to stay in LA as their coach if you have quarterback turmoil, if you have no idea who you're going to hire, going to be your guy, if you have no stability at the most important position in the league? Again, the guys I just listed before, Darnold, Rodgers, Russ, Fields, like, McVay's not winning with those guys. He's not winning consistently like he is right now at Stafford with any of those guys. Those are not long-term fixes. Those are not upgrades over Stafford. And even if he wants to draft a quarterback, you know, because one of the popular teams you've heard kind of bandied about when it comes to, who could trade for Stafford, one of the teams that's been connected so far frequently has been the Giants. They have the number 3 overall pick. Let's just say the Giants live in a world where they do trade that number 3 pick for Matthew Stafford. Is McVay going head over heels for the ability to coach Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? Probably not. Considering everything you've heard right now so far by these two quarterbacks as we get set for the combine here this week, is that these guys are not, part of a strong draft class. That they're not, guys that maybe should be the first or second quarterback off the board. I mean, going in the top 2 or 3 picks overall in the draft. So you have quarterbacks at the top of this year's draft that are nowhere near, let's say, top level guys the way, Caleb Williams was last year. I still think can be. The way Jaden Daniels turned out, right, so far with year 1 in Washington. Like, there's not a young quarterback out there available where Sean McVay can kind of be revitalized. Like, okay, I got a young guy here. This is going to be fun. I'm going to mold him the way I want to play quarterback. I don't want to have a veteran anymore. This is going to be great. There's not that guy. So if you're McVay, I think it makes it easier if you're the Rams, if you trade away Stafford, all of a sudden it's like, okay, stopgap here. Maybe we'll try a younger quarterback there. I don't know. Let's just kind of piece this together, and it's 2 or 3 years of quarterback mediocrity. I think that just only drives, or I should say, only makes it easier for McVay to walk out the door. Say, you know what? I'm good. No, thank you. I'm out of here. Why would you want to do that if you're the Rams? Why would you want to push out the door a top 2 coach in the sport when it's not necessary? Keep Matthew Stafford there, which I think they will, and go try to chase a Super Bowl here in the next 2 or 3 years. That, to me, is what the Rams are going to do, because the alternative of trading away Matthew Stafford, I can't figure out how it makes sense for them. I don't know how it could be justified. I don't know how you could do that if you're the Rams and feel like you won that trade. So because I feel that way, because I think now there are 2 legit reasons why it does not make sense for the Rams to trade him, I don't think Stafford's going anywhere. I think he's staying in LA. He's going to get a new deal. He'll make do without Cooper Kupp, his buddy. I don't think he's coming back to LA. I think that ship has sailed. But he'll play with a cool, he'll play with a young, rising defense. I think they're going to be one of the tough teams or the top teams in the NFC next year, vying for a run at the Super Bowl. I would be floored if we are talking a week, a month, 3 months from now, if we're talking about Matthew Stafford on a different team. It ain't happening. I can't foresee it. He'll be in LA with the Rams week 1, 2025. You can lock it up. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. When you look at Matthew Stafford here, what do you think the Rams should do? I think they should keep him. I think it makes, to me, complete and obvious sense to keep Stafford on your team. What about you, though? Does it make sense in your mind for the Rams to move off of Stafford, who, again, is 37, is looking to become one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL? Does it make sense right now, strike while the iron is hot after that really good postseason performance there by Stafford? Does it make sense to move off of Matthew, trade him, and reset a quarterback here for the Rams? If you think so, 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your logic here, your explanation. You can also tweet me on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3. That's Ryan_Hickey3 is where you can tweet me. And also you can write in our Infinity Sports Network YouTube chat, which can be found right there at the aforementioned Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. We stream this show live on YouTube every single Sunday night. So if you like listening and you want to watch, that is where you can watch each and every Sunday. Start your Sunday, or I should say, end your Sunday, start your Monday in a good way. Watching us right here on the Infinity Sports Network. 855-212-4227. We will get your thoughts here on the future of Matthew Stafford. And speaking of which, right now, Stafford, we can throw into the pool of quarterbacks available for teams to sign and or trade this offseason. We mentioned a bunch. Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson. Let's talk about some of those quarterbacks here when we do return on the show in terms of what you can expect if you sign them. If your team needs a quarterback and is going to be active in the market, what can you expect from which quarterback you sign? I have some quarterback tiers of expectations from quarterbacks available that I will give you next. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I'm a sensation. You try me once, you'll beg for more. Oh, yes, I can boogie, but I need.
It's Hick at Night.
Hey, how you doing, Ryan? I want to tell you I love your show. I listen all the time.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate you taking my call. I really love your stuff. You're nailing it again tonight like you usually do.
Where he makes some good points. Sometimes.
Steven is calling from our nation's capital. What's up, Steven?
You are so wrong about this.
Give Ryan your take at 855-212-4227.
So it came out also over the weekend, according to NFL Network, in Rappaport specifically, that Shedeur Sanders will not throw at the Combine. That he's working, or I should say focusing on his interviews with teams, that he's not going to throw. He's going to wait till he throws at his pro day. I have no problem with this at all. I think too much is made out of players not competing at the Combine, especially quarterbacks. That's like, those drills to me are the most overblown, meaningless drills we see. You have, 24? You play the bowl game? 25. You have 25 games of tape of Shedeur Sanders at Colorado alone, playing against top-level Pac-12 and Big 12 opponents. You don't need to see Shedeur Sanders throw on air to receivers he has no continuity with, throwing routes that are on air with no defender. You don't need to see him make 30 throws like that in Indy to make your decision whether you want to take him or not. I feel like so many players get backlash and flack. Oh, you don't want to compete. You're soft. This generation, they just want everything handed to them. Those drills are awful. They're pointless. The whole Combine is just so, honestly, annoying because the drills don't matter. You have the tape of players no matter what the position. I mean, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, how much can you even what are you even watching? Are these guys and they're not just hitting people, moving bodies? There's nothing you will be able to determine that you haven't already determined from watching film based on what you see at the Combine. They've proven it. Cam Ward has Miami tape, has Washington State tape. Hell, you want to go back to Incarnate Word? You want to go back to Jackson State for Shedeur? There is plenty of film for you to watch to see how these guys act in a game-like setting. There is no game-like setting in Indy. Reading defenses, figuring out what you need to figure out by watching them throw a few routes on air. So Shedeur's not throwing, no problem at all. He's not a coward. He's not running away from people. He's not going to be a bust because of this decision. He's focusing on the interviews, which I think is smart because I think that's where I think Indy makes players do either help or hurt themselves the most this week at the Combine. Now, obviously, the medicals, finding out their injury history, if there's anything that needs to be cleaned up or worked out, whatever, they really go up and down and figure them out. But outside of that, I think the biggest things that help truly impact players' stocks are the interviews. Nothing they do on the field. The receiver dropping a pass on the gauntlet drill is not all of a sudden going to make him a bust or take him off someone's draft board. There's very little on field that could happen. I feel like that could hurt or even help a player. The 40-yard dashes to me is overrated. The broad jump, overrated. 3-cone drill, overrated. DK Metcalf had one of the worst 3-cone drills apparently in the exercise's history. Ask him how that worked out for him and ask the Seahawks if they regret that pick. That's where, kind of going back to what we talked about before, about this time being the worst in the NFL, like around the Combine and getting into draft season when the rumors are just kind of running rampant and pro days are happening and all this stuff. It's just sometimes people blow so many things out of proportion because they want to be an insider or want attention or there's nothing going on and they're trying to fill the void, that so much gets overblown that's really nonsense. This stuff, I think, is nonsense, including needing to throw or work out of the Combine. Shedeur's not doing it. No problem for me whatsoever. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, here it is. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for checking us out on Hick at Nite. Matthew Stafford is a quarterback that I guess ostensibly now is available. A guy who Rams are allowing him to check his value. Whether they pull the trigger or not, I still don't believe they will. But now the door for a trade has never been more open than it is right now. So Matthew Stafford seemingly is available. Obviously, you have free agents like Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. Where are these guys? What can you expect in any of these guys here in 2025 and beyond? If you're a team that needs a quarterback that you think your team will sign, maybe trade for one of these quarterbacks, This segment here is for you. Because I've broken down a lot of these quarterbacks into tiers. Tiers of what you can expect from this quarterback if he's on your team here in 2025. Let's break them down. Number one here, Super Bowl tier. Super Bowl tier, Matthew Stafford, only one. He's the guy that can absolutely get back to a Super Bowl and win one. Again, we saw him nearly take down the Eagles in the only test Philly really faced in this postseason. This is a guy who's a big-time player who shines when it matters most. In the 2 playoff games he played in this year, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 533 passing yards. His passer rating, 107.5. The guy's nails. He's clutch. He's already done it once before. If your team can land Matthew Stafford, there's a real chance here we're talking Super Bowl in your future here. The Super Bowl tier is occupied by one player. That's Matthew Stafford. Let's go to the playoff tier here, where there's, again, only one quarterback, I think, occupying this tier. That, to me, is Sam Darnold. Look, there is a little bit of a caveat here because I think Sam Darnold has to go to the right place. He's not a guy that can go to any team, the Giants, the Jets, and make them a playoff contender. He has to go to the right situation. So I think teams need to know that and need to be, okay, Sam needs help. We have it here. He's going to come on in. If he does have that help, if he's in the right spot, he can absolutely get a team to the playoffs for sure, like we just saw at Minnesota. Because he has good accuracy, strong arm, he's a playmaker. This is a guy who finished last year with Minnesota top 6 in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and passer rating. The guy can play. Again, I think he needs to be put in a good situation, which means he's not just a plug-and-play kind of guy. You have to vet him out, and you have to say, okay, this guy, we have the requisite receiver talent, we have good coaching, we got a good offense coordinator, good offensive line, some balance on the offense here as well. This guy could work. If you have that, Sam is absolutely leading your team to the playoffs. Playoff tier for quarterbacks, I have just Sam Darnold in there. How about this tier? The worth a flyer tier. I think, to me, Kirk Cousins is in this tier. I think Kirk can be a guy where you can buy low, sell high. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, which is why to me, he's worth a flyer. He's worth the risk because he absolutely is a risk. The last 5 games we saw of Kirk Cousins, where he threw 9 picks, and the Falcons went 1-4. There's absolutely a chance you sign Kirk Cousins, and that's the guy that shows up. It's a risk, no doubt about it. The last we saw of him was ugly, and he's about to get cut after signing there for a 4-year deal just last season. They're going to go with Michael Penix Jr. He's going to be replaced just as quickly as he was signed. But I think while there is a giant risk in bringing Kirk in, I think there's also a big reward as well. Because before that 5-game stretch, they got him benched and sent the Falcons season into the toilet, really. This guy was solid. He was good. 17 touchdowns, just 7 picks through 9 games. The Falcons were 6-3. They swept the Buccaneers early on in the year. They were feeling good. They were the team to beat. They had control of the division. And they relinquished control, obviously. But, there was some good with Kirk. It wasn't all bad. So there's no guarantee he gets back to being a playoff caliber quarterback. But I think the risk is worth the reward. I think, to me, he's worth a flyer. That's why I have Kirk Cousins in the worth a flyer tier. Let's go to the placeholder tier. This is a tier where I think if you sign a guy, he'll be competent, but you're not a playoff team, but you won't be the worst team in the world. He just will be a warm body to hold the spot as your team tries to find the next guy in a year or 2 years from now. 3 guys I got in here: Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. None of those guys are franchise quarterbacks. None of them are viable starters. Russ just doesn't have it anymore. This, to me, he's a guy that is just a stopgap at this point where he could win you a few games, maybe get the fan base still a little bit buzzed. Okay, he's coming in. Russ, they got the Steelers to the playoffs. Maybe we could do that with us here. He is just enough buzz where maybe a fan base or two desperate for some competent quarterback play could be excited. But he's nothing more than a placeholder. We saw that there in Pittsburgh. He's just keeping the seat warm. Whether it's a team that drafts a quarterback this year and signs Russ, whether it's a quarterback that says, you know what, we're not that bad, we're not going to tank, but we're going to try to at least be professional. So let's bring Russ in here, then we try to reevaluate our options after 2025. That's Russ, that's Fields, and that's Daniel Jones as well. Jones obviously stinks, and Fields I'm out on. Can't read the field, can't read a defense, accuracy is not very good, decision-making is poor. I think we've seen enough of Justin Fields to say, okay, here's what he is. He's a project, he's an athletic freak, but he's not a quarterback. At least a successful one here in the NFL that could win us real games. He is just a placeholder as, again, we try to find our next guy. So Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, they to me are nothing more than placeholders. Finally, one quarterback we have not mentioned. He is in the unsignable tier, and that's Aaron Rodgers. A guy who's 41 years old, who's a headache in the locker room, whose play has fallen off, who wants full control of the organization. Make it make sense. Why would your team want him? Why would you want that guy on your roster? It doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't do it. If I was any team in the league, I would not sign him. I don't think it makes sense at all. All right. Give me 1 second here. Because now I have to find the remote. There it is. As you can hear, I'm sure, our TV's like whatever, for whatever reason here, resets. So the TV just shut off. Now it come back on. Even though the TV's on mute, now the sound is going. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back here. This is just a disaster. We have 2 TVs here in the studio. One, I don't know how much is coming over there. Hopefully little, but it's pretty loud, at least here in the studio. 2 TVs on top and bottom. We have one remote that controls both. So for whatever reason, like the bottom TV, once in a while, if it's been on long enough, kind of resets. So it's shut off, turned back on. Now it's on the volumes at full blast. And so I just try to hit mute. Right, okay, quick mute button. The problem is the top TV was muted. So now all of a sudden, not only did the bottom TV now register mute, the top TV now all of a sudden had their sound unmuted and talking. So fun times here at our Infinity Sports Network studios, but thankfully disaster averted. And as we were just saying with Aaron Rodgers, the dude is unsignable. There's not one redeeming quality I see about bringing him onto your team next year. If I was any team in the league, I am for sure not signing Aaron Rodgers. To me, he's unsignable. Placeholder tier, again, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. The worth of flyer tier, I would say Kirk Cousins. Playoff tier, Sam Darnold. Super Bowl tier, Matthew Stafford. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Those are some tiers of free agent / available for trade quarterbacks that are out on the market here that teams are going to be interested in. And you're going to hear a lot of them coming up soon here as the league year is set to start in a few weeks with March right around the corner. And we're going to see some action with these guys. So of all the quarterbacks we just talked about, Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all those different guys that are available for your team to trade and or sign, which quarterback do you want? Of all the quarterbacks available, who is number one on your list if you were a quarterback-needy team here in 2025? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. You can also tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts, and when we return on the show, Sunday Scaries, including something I'm sure you've never heard from a team broadcaster. We'll play that for you when we do return. It's Ryan Hickey, Hick at Night with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Up though first, with the latest sports update, is Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
This report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. progressive.com. We tip off with the NBA, and we start in Minnesota.
Gilgeous-Alexander played by McDaniels, crossing the timeline. Slashing right. Shovel feeds Wallace. Corner left, Caruso tees up another three that's online. And in there, Cha-ching at the under money ball. AC coming through big. 3 threes in the quarter, 11 points on the night.
Matt Pinto on Thunder Radio. Thunder over the T-Wolves, 130-123. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Now to Cleveland.
Lob left side to Strus, in the corner to Mobley. Mobley in the middle to Allen Powell! And a foul to go with it! Jared Allen off a beautiful feed with the thunderous dunk.
Tim Alcorn on Cavaliers Radio. The Cavs over the Grizzlies, 129-123. Cavs have won 7 in a row to improve to 47-10. Elsewhere, Pelicans over the Spurs, 114-96. Bucks 120, Heat 113. Damian Lillard with 28 points. Raptors over the Suns, 127-109. Magic 110, Wizards 90. The Pistons over the Hawks, 148-143. Cade Cunningham, 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 12 assists. The Pacers over the Clippers, 129-111. Warriors top the Mavericks, 126-102. Steph Curry with 30 points. And it was the Celtics over the Knicks, 118-105. College basketball, number 10 St. John's over UConn, 89-75. Indiana beat number 13 Purdue, 73-58. And it was number 22 Memphis over FAU, 84-65. NHL, Capitals over the Oilers, 7-3. Alex Ovechkin with a hat trick. He's got 882 career goals. He's 13 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record of 894. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It is Ryan Hickey here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. The show, of course, is Hick at Nite. Nite spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you... N-I-T-E. See, I get like robotics sometimes. That is the show name, Hick at Nite. Nite spelled N-I-T-E. Where you can find the podcast is also Hick at Nite, spelled N-I-T-E. And usually what I say is available wherever you do get your podcasts. Thank you for joining us here. We'll get to Sunday Scaries in 1 second, but I do, since we're kind of talking a lot of quarterbacks this hour, who can go where, want to circle back to Anthony calling from Pittsburgh. What's up, Anthony?
You know, I have more faith in Kirk and Justin Fields than you do. I think that he's got talent. I mean, when he was at Ohio State, he showed so much talent. They sent Joe Burrow packing to LSU. It just has to be harnessed. And he, coming from a situation in Chicago where it wasn't brought out, and unfortunately even here in Pittsburgh, that's the only thing I see damning him, is Tomlin wants his fingers in too many pies now instead of allowing his coordinators to do their job.
It's tough, Anthony, just because, like, at what point with so many different stops along the way do you say, okay, maybe it's the team, but also maybe it's the quarterback as well? I'm with you in the sense of Justin Fields has a lot of talent. I loved him coming out of Ohio State, and I've been very disappointed so far with what we've seen, in part because it feels like, to me, the mistakes he makes, even with the Steelers this past year, are the same ones he kept making as a rookie. Like, there's no development, there's no progression, there's no improvement, and it's just like that, to me, is the frustrating aspect for a guy that has, I mean, he has all the tools. He has a good arm. Like, he obviously has great legs. Can't figure it out.
I'm closer to the scene than you are as far as the situation here in Pittsburgh. Look, at this point, Tomlin won't let anybody coordinate. I mean, he hasn't allowed a offensive coordinator, to do their work since Todd Haley left in the Killer Bee era. And so we saw some things with Fields, but he wouldn't allow. There was certain aspects he wouldn't allow to happen because he didn't want to put his defense bad situations. You got to let the boy play. He's 26 years old, for goodness sake. You bring in a Jordan Palmer to help him on the things that he can do well. But his running ability, I mean, he's one of only 4 quarterbacks to ever rush for over 1,000 yards in the history of the league.
He's got elite
there,
legs.
But you got to bring it out, and that's where coaching comes in. And unfortunately, Mr. Rooney doesn't see that the coach who's never had a losing season has stunted, and that's as far as it goes. So that's the only bad thing I see. I think the young man's going to do very well if he went to a coordinator like you were talking about with McVay or one of those Shanahan types. I think he'd do very well, but I don't know. Coming back to Pittsburgh would probably be a mistake for him because he's just not going to be able to grow.
Yeah, it's tough. Anthony, I appreciate the call, and you're right about when it comes to Mike Tomlin, that's a fair criticism of the offense and kind of, him having a lot of control and maybe being way too conservative, which I think is absolutely accurate. But it's also, I think, telling just because when you look at Fields, right, like Bears tried, obviously gave up on him. They went the Caleb route. I think that's the right move, even after last year not going as well as I thought it could go immediately. But now they got Ben Johnson there. I feel good about the future of the Bears. But like when Fields then was available, all 32 teams could have had him. When the Steelers traded for him, they gave up a conditional 2025 pick. That's it. So they gave up a pick not even when they traded for him last year, right? They gave up a pick for this year. So the price was so low, I think it's telling that really nobody else was interested. So you could say, he needs a McVay, he needs a Shanahan, which is fair. I think he definitely needs one of those coaches to get the most out of him for sure. But it should be a little concerning of all those teams with the ability to bring him in, nobody chose to. It was Pittsburgh. And now a guy that's going to be seemingly out there again for the cheap as well. We'll see what his market is, but I think that market or lack thereof should be telling right there before you even see where he signs and what the offense is like. What his market looks like will determine first and foremost how the rest of the league views him. And if it's not high, if it's not, not a lot of interest, there's your answer in terms of Justin Fields and I think his ability or how much I should say is on him versus how much so far the two situations that he's been in Chicago and Pittsburgh here as well. All right, show is winding down. Unfortunately, we are back here in another work week in the doldrums of winter. Now, the good news is hope is coming. Daylight savings is a few weeks away. March Madness is almost here. Spring training baseball just started, so spring is a-coming. Brighter days are ahead, but if you're feeling extra groggy, extra down on this Monday getting ready for work, don't you worry. We got you covered here in Sunday Scaries by highlighting a few people who have it worse than you.
The weekend is winding down. Hey, Ryan, who's got the Sunday Scaries this week?
Let's first go to Buffalo. Before I even set the scene for you, I just want you to listen to this from MSG. This was on the Sabres-Rangers broadcast on Saturday. Take a listen to what happened to one Sabres reporter.
The puck is dropped and it's 4-0. The opening period, and Razor just took another one, and that was a rocket. Doctors checking Razor out very quickly. That was close to the eye.
Oh, it right above the eye. Razor being Rob Ray, the Buffalo Sabres between the benches reporter, right as the puck dropped after the Sabres scored another goal. Rangers got their ass kicked. Puck was deflected out of play and drilled Ray right in the eyebrow. As you heard, his mic was on. Poor guy. Now, thankfully for Ray, he's no sideline reporter or between the benches reporter like you and I listen. No, this guy's had a puck or two to his face before. 6th most penalty minutes in NHL history. He's a 14-year enforcer, spending most of his career at the Sabres. So the guy knows how to take a hit. He's taken a puck to the dome before. He actually ended up getting stitches that they talked about later on in the broadcast above the eye. He got a little cut on the bridge of his nose as well. This dude is tough. Tough to the point where he didn't miss any of the game. I'm out. Let me tell you, if I'm standing there between the benches and I get a frozen rubber puck that drills me right above the eyebrow and I got swelling, I got stitches, I like to think I would be tough enough to stick it out and finish the broadcast. But I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know. I would try and like to think, but I don't know. I've never taken a puck to the face, thankfully. This actually is a good segue to tell a story that happened to my friend one time. This is going to sound bad. This is one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed in my life. So back in high school, my friends and I were all like athletics. So like we didn't really hang out and go to parties. We just played a lot of sports instead. So we had a big hockey phase where we played like deck hockey, roller hockey. So we'd always rotate, who's playing D, who's playing O, who's playing goalie. You'd usually be 2-on-2 with the goalie, 3-on-3 with the goalie, and then kind of half court setting here. Nothing crazy. So my friend Tyler ended up one day on New Year's Eve, nonetheless, was the hockey goalie. And the equipment we had was like my uncle played high school goalie, like ice hockey goalie. And like he kept his pads. So like I was able to borrow his like knee pads or his leg pads, chest protector, blocker, glove. But the helmet like kind of was loose and old. So that was like the one thing that was very old. So we didn't really use it. So we just used like a baseball, like the catcher hockey mask, So we used that as the hockey mask. The thing that's different between a catcher's hockey mask for baseball and a normal goalie hockey mask is a goalie hockey mask has a bar down the middle to prevent the puck going between the eye slits. Baseball, if the ball is round, you have to worry about that bar down the middle because the round ball is not going to go through that little eye slit. I think you know where the story is going. My friend Liam, as we're playing here, rips a wrister, goes right through the goalie, the catcher, the baseball hockey mask, right through since there's no line down the middle, and drills him right in the eye. Now this, for Rob Ray, this one hit him above the eye and the eyebrow. This got my friend Tyler right below the eye, thankfully. Kind of like where the bags under your eyes sit. So he immediately goes down in a heap of pain. We're all like, what happened? Couldn't believe it's literally 1 in a million. Because the eye slit, we were playing with it afterwards, like the puck, like the eye slit is just as wide as the puck. So it literally took the perfect shot to go clean through, drilled him right in the eye. Immediate black eye. And thankfully, there's no eye damage, so we can laugh about this. But also, it being New Year's Eve, we're all going to go out to this one New Year's Eve party at one of our friends' houses afterwards. He didn't go because of the black eye. Oh, my God. That was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Thank you, Rob Ray, for getting a puck to the dome to make me remember that story. But Rob Ray, look, tough guy. I think he ended well by sticking it out in the benches and not, getting some medical attention, but still finishing the broadcast. But still, nonetheless, no one wants a puck to the dome, even if you're a tough guy NHL enforcer. Nobody wants that. Rob Ray, he's got himself the Sunday Scaries. As do the Dallas Mavericks. They continue to handle this post-Luka Doncic trade as poorly as you have. They put out a hype video this week on social media trying to get the 3 fans left enthused for the second half push. And so the hype video included like all highlights on the first half. They included 3 different highlights that had Luka Doncic in them. So you know what the Mavericks thought that they would do to be sly and smart? They superimposed over Doncic a black silhouette and over his face put a Mavericks logo. It took fans 2 seconds to realize, oh, that's just Luka Doncic. It's on the bench celebrating. He's on the court. It's a 2-minute and 15-second video. Why they decided or why they thought we cannot take out these 3 scenes of Luka in them, it was beyond me. And why they thought the best thing possible to have fans not remember Luka Doncic is by putting a shadowy black silhouette over him and a Mavericks logo thinking no one's going to notice who this is. We're all good here. The Mavericks continue to embarrass themselves. Mavericks social media, they have the Sunday Scaries here as well. And that'll do it. That'll do it for Sunday Scaries. That'll do it for the show as well. Big thank you to you. Thank you for choosing to join us here as part of your Sunday evening. Thank you to Ray Jarvis doing an excellent job producing the show. Do not go anywhere. EJ Stewart. That's right, baby. Up next right here, keeping you entertained on many of these same stations on SiriusXM channel 375 and also the free Odyssey app. Have yourself a great week. We will be back next week, same time, same place. Check out the Hick at Nite podcast if you missed anything, Night spelled Nite. Have a great week. This has been Ryan Hickey. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break.